Chapter 245. His Chi avatar had always been secretly monitoring the demonic faction headquarters, especially the huge sealed room where the humanoid body in the bronze coffin was suspended in mid-air. The sea was vast. The shallowest parts were at least 20 to 30 li deep, while the deepest parts were over 100 li deep. Donghua Shuang dove into the depths of the sea, only stopping when he was close to an invisible barrier. Sticking close to this invisible barrier, he flew at high speed beneath the seabed, surveying the area within 500 li around him. He had been surveying for 3 years and 11 months. Who? Donghua Shuang turned into a stream of light as he flew within a mirage. Raising his head, he saw an island in the middle of the sea. The island was very large, spanning several thousand li. On the island, there was even a county city. It must be known that the ocean was much larger than the continent. There were also countless humans living on the scattered islands of various sizes. The Sea Deity Palace, one of the 6 transcendent organizations of the Xia people, was in charge of the entire ocean. In this county-level city, there was a flourishing river next to a withered, crooked tree. There was a lonely old man sitting on a chair. He held a piece of wood in one hand and a carving knife in the other, and he was carving away at it. Beside him was a young attendant. As the cold wind blew, the lonely old man stared at the piece of wood with deep emotions in his eyes. As the wood shavings swirled about, the figure of a woman gradually took shape. This woman was valiant and formidable looking. Sister Ping, how good would it be if you were still alive today? We could eat breakfast together on the streets, take a stroll among the noisy crowds, and drink wine together on the rooftops. These were the days you told me you wanted the most. However, I'm afraid that you wouldn't even dare to recognize me when you see me. The lonely old man muttered to himself. His voice could not be heard by anyone, not even the young attendant beside him. On the bustling river, boats came and went in an endless stream. There were even luxurious high-rise boats belonging to the rich and powerful nobles. On one of the boats, beauties were as common as clouds. 2 debauches were standing at the bow of the boat, facing the wind and talking loudly. Brother Zhu, look at that old man. A tall and skinny youth smiled as he pointed into the distance. It's winter and it's so cold. He's still carving while facing the cold wind? You even let such a fair and tender young boy stand there. How pretentious. He's quite pretentious. He's even more pretentious than us 2 brothers. But you have to say, that old man's hair is all white, but he's still quite handsome. If he goes to the brothel, I'm afraid he'll be able to hook up with quite a few girls. The fat young man beside him also said, I can't see anyone more handsome than me. An old man is even more handsome than me. So what? Watch me tease him. The tall and skinny young man looked around and immediately picked up a long bamboo pole on the bow deck. He directly used the bamboo pole to reach into the river next to him, and then directly waved it at the lonely old man who was carved on the riverside. Hua! In the middle of winter, the ice-cold river water was lifted up. The sparkling river water sprayed directly towards the lonely old man. This tall and skinny young man seemed to have trained in Do Chi. The amount of water he stirred up was quite a lot, and his aim was quite accurate. A stream of water that had been stirred up fell directly. The desolate old man and the young attendant beside him were like shadows. The water passed through them and splashed on the ground beside them. It didn't even touch the chair or the box beside it. The tall and skinny young man who was holding the bamboo pole saw this scene in astonishment. He couldn't help but rub his eyes. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. The water passed through a human body? It didn't even touch it? The fat young man who was watching from the side was also stunned. His eyes were wide open. The lonely old man raised his head and looked at the flower boat beside him, as well as the 2 nobles on it. It was just a glance. Aya! The flower boat swayed because of the waves. The tall and skinny young man on the deck immediately staggered and fell down. Plop! Water splashed everywhere. The fat young man beside him also swayed and fell down. His mouth was injured. The fat young man was extremely shocked. He looked at the lonely old man. Just now, when the water passed through the old man, it seemed like it passed through a shadow. He could see it clearly. He immediately guessed that he had met a big shot. Brother Zhou used the river water to splash him and fell into the river. Just now, I said something and my mouth was injured. Moreover, everything seemed so natural. It seemed like it was really because he fell and his mouth was injured. The more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. At this moment, in the mirage, Dongbua Shuang flew over 1,000 li underground. The lonely old man who had been toying with the two brats paused for a moment. He frowned and turned his head to look behind him. His gaze was directed in the direction of Shuang. At this moment, Dongbua Shuang was 1,000 li away from him. 1,000 li was not within the range of Dongbua Shuang's detection. Naturally, he did not know that the lonely old man was staring at him. The world of the Xia people is getting more and more interesting. There are actually existences who can walk in the mirage. There are more and more powerful people. The lonely old man stood up and ordered, "Tong Air, let's go back." "Yes, master." The young attendant picked up the box at the side and put the folded chair together with the box. He then carried it on his back and followed the lonely old man. As the distance between them shortened to 500 li, Dongbua Shuang's mirage finally scanned this area. Very quickly, he scanned the entire county city. Finding nothing, he continued to move forward. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed since he left Snowrock Castle. On an island that spanned 1,000 li, Dongbua Shuang was sitting on a beach. There were a few fishing boats on the beach, belonging to the fishermen who had lived on this island for generations. However, it was already late at night, and some of the fishermen on the boats were already fast asleep. Shuang was currently sitting on the beach with many pebble-like origin stones placed in front of him. His fingers lightly touched an origin stone, and the initial energy contained within the origin stone before the birth of the world was frantically engulfed and devoured. In just a few seconds, an origin stone had turned into powder. The speed at which his body devoured the origin stones was simply too fast. The number of origin stones in the surroundings was constantly decreasing, and new origin stones would be teleported out. The demonic dragon art technique absorbed the energy of the origin stones at a crazy rate. Every muscle and bone in his body absorbed more and more energy. As the saying goes, quantitative change leads to qualitative change. Although humans did not have the innate talent of the abyss demons, nor did they have the strong bodies of the transcendent natives. However, after absorbing a large amount of energy from the origin stones, his already strong body finally had a breakthrough. Wong. Dongbua Shuang could feel his head buzzing. Every part of his body was buzzing, and a qualitative change was taking place. Comfortable, comfortable. The blood in his body flowed with greater strength, and the vitality contained in every cell was incomparably terrifying. Even if his heart was completely destroyed, the countless shattered cells would be able to instantly regenerate. Even if his brain was destroyed, this terrifying vitality would be able to instantly regenerate it. The strength of this vitality. Even if his body was destroyed on a particle level, it would still be able to regenerate. Of course, when one's body was destroyed on a particle level, the amount of vitality needed to recover each time was extremely shocking. The more one consumed, the more one's vitality would be depleted. Undying body. A smile appeared on Dongbua Shuang's face. His body had finally reached the middle stage of the Saint Realm, and he now had an undying body. For example, among the Abyss demons, there were rank 4 demons who had an undying body. More than half of the rank 5 demons had an undying body. With an undying body, unless one had an overwhelming advantage, it would be very difficult to kill them. Speaking of which, humans were too weak in this aspect. Even ordinary humans could not cultivate and improve their bodies in this way. Only those who had awakened their primordial bloodline once could rely on origin stones. They forcefully improved their bodies. Now that I have 3 true meanings and have cultivated an undying body, even the strongest demigod might be able to injure me. But to kill me, Dongbua Shuang was in a good mood. After raising his body to the middle stage of the Saint Realm, he would have to attempt the second awakening of his bloodline. As for the legendary peak stage of the Saint Realm, he would definitely awaken his bloodline. However, the amount of origin stones required for that was more than enough to dig out all the transcendent worlds in the Xia people's world. It was not realistic at all. It was already very impressive for him to reach the middle stage of the Saint Realm. Chapter 246. Next will be the Second Awakening. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes were filled with anticipation. After the Second Awakening, one would be comparable to a true primordial being. According to the rules, the average standard of the Abyss demons would be slightly stronger than the primordial beings, and the average primordial beings would be slightly stronger than the native transcendents. But this was referring to the overall standard. Just like how the Abyss demons were divided into lower, middle, and upper rank demons according to their innate talent, the native transcendents had similar classifications. It was the same for the primordial beings. The apex of the primordial beings were similarly terrifying. No matter what, no matter how ordinary their innate talent is, as long as they awaken, they will definitely reach the peak of demigod. Dongbua Shuang thought, if they are outstanding, they can even enter the top few demigods based on their innate talent alone. Why were the 5 demon generals so powerful? In terms of comprehension, they did not have any advantage. For example, the purple-scaled demon whose combat power was comparable to Mountain Lord, he had reached the stage 3 realm of true meaning of particles. Mountain Lord, he might have grasped a grade 4 true meaning, but he had still condensed a true deity heart. Condensing a true deity heart from stage 3 was a qualitative change. Strictly speaking, Mountain Lord, his comprehension was slightly higher. Mountain Lord, he even wielded a deity weapon, but the purple-scaled demon could rely on his powerful demonic physique and innate talent to match Mountain Lord he. Primordial beings had a similar advantage. Powerful primordial beings did not need any comprehension to be tyrannical. If their comprehension was higher, they would be even more powerful. But awakening is still a little difficult. Dongbua Shuang frowned. According to the historical records of our Xia people, once one reaches the middle stage of the Saint Realm, there will be a 10% chance of awakening, purely relying on luck. A second awakening without cultivating one's physique? This had never happened in the history of the Xia people. The early stage Saint Realm had a very low chance of awakening. The middle stage Saint Realm was very high. With 1 out of 10 of them, the peak of the Saint Realm, they would definitely awaken. But no one had ever done so before. Even though there is a 10% chance to be able to extravagantly use 1 million kilograms of origin stones to strengthen one's physique, the Xia people are all very powerful and have a high comprehension of the realm. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Moreover, it seems like the higher one's cultivation base is, the higher the possibility of an awakening. This is especially so for true intents that are related to one's body. True intent could strengthen one's body, and one could even rely on their true intent to form an undying body. That undying body did not rely on life force, but on the laws of profound mysteries. Dongbua Shuang pondered. Among the records of true intents passed down from the deity world, there are too few records regarding the true intent of mirage. There are no records of the true meaning of extreme piercing, but the records of the true meaning of star are rather detailed. I heard that once the true meaning of star reaches the stage 3 realm, one would be able to form the star immortal body. The star immortal body, in the records passed down from the god realm, was already very exaggerated. Just this star immortal body was enough to suppress an era. Let's take it slow. The higher my cultivation, the more control I have over my body, and the higher the chance of awakening. Dongbua Shuang knew that he could not rush this. Who? Standing up, he waved his hand and collected the origin stones on the beach. Following Dongbua Shuang, he walked alone on the beach in the middle of the night. Occasionally, he could see the flames of the fishing boats in the distance. Jing Xiao. At the same time, Dongbua Shuang was chatting with Jing Xiao through the communication wristband. Every day, he would contact Jing Xiao so that he could know what was happening in Snorrock Castle. 5 years and 9 months of scouting. Hong Long Long, this was a rather chaotic region of the sea. Dongbua Shui Ying walked around the mirage, flying beneath the seabed to scout. Suddenly, his spirit jolted. I found it. He looked carefully at a battleship in the distance. The battleship was only about 30 li below the seabed. Inside the battleship, other than a group of weaker demons, the strongest was a gray-robed elder. This elder's silhouette was faintly discernible as he sat cross-legged, cultivating. One of the 5 demon generals, the shadow demon. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded his head. His strength is comparable to the mountain demon. Other than the mountain demon who is sleeping soundly, the other demon generals that I found are all cultivating. These demon generals are all madly making use of every moment they have to cultivate and increase their strength. The information that the Xia people had gathered was based on the strength of the demon generals that they had discovered. Furthermore, the souls of humans were extremely beneficial to the demons. The demon generals devoured human souls. If they were allowed to cultivate like this, after a few hundred years, their strength would definitely increase. It was even possible for one of the demon generals to undergo a qualitative change. Of course, the possibility of them becoming a demonic god was extremely low. However, if they underwent a qualitative change and reached the strength of an era suppressor, it would be very troublesome. That's the 4th one. Dongbua Shui Ying revealed a smile. He was in a good mood. Just one more. Continue. It was fine if they didn't come, but they came one after another. Only 3 months later, Dongbua Shui Ying found the last demon general. This was also the one that Dongbua Shui Ying was most worried about. This was because he was the first one to display his strength among the 5 demon generals. He was also the first to be recognized as the number 1 demigod. When he first arrived, he had already displayed such strength. In fact, the Xia people even suspected that he was hiding his true strength. Thus, Dongbua Shui Ying was worried that he would be discovered. Noon of the day. This was a beautiful island. The sea breeze blew gently, and the sun shone brightly. There were very few inhabitants on the island. Just a few li underground of the island, a silver-white battleship was hidden. There were no other demon subordinates on the battleship. There was only one existence on the battleship. It's him. Dongbua Shui Ying used the mirage to reflect reality and examined the demon general carefully. The body of the tall, ice-blue demon was like a work of art. Numerous ice-like scales covered his body, and his expression was solemn. Naturally, he emitted a cold aura. At this moment, he was also sitting cross-legged and cultivating. There's no movement. His aura didn't change at all. His expression didn't change either. He didn't discover me? Dongbua Shui Ying was both surprised and happy. He had been feeling apprehensive. He was most worried about the purple-scaled demon and this frost demon. This frost demon was a superior demon. Sometimes, the outcome would be so surprising. This frost demon also didn't discover him. His cultivation might be similar to Mountain Lord He, but his perception of the mirage might be slightly weaker. Dongbua Shui Ying muttered. However, I still have to try. On the same day, Dongbua Shui Ying went to check on the locations of the 5 demon generals. All of them were at their original positions. Other than one who was sleeping soundly, the other 4 were devouring human souls and cultivating. Since they are all at their original positions, that's very good. Dongbua Shui Ying stood on the majestic waves. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Actually, when he saw the demons devouring human souls through the mirage, he already had the urge to kill them. However, he knew that he had to endure it. If he wanted to make a move, he had to do it together. Otherwise, if he killed one, the other 4 would immediately be alerted. Dongbua Shui Ying exhaled and calmed himself down. Only then did he use the communication wristband to send a message. Palace Lord Chun. Snow Eagle, what's the matter? Palace Lord Chun asked. The 5 demon generals have all been found. The heavens have protected our Xia people. They didn't notice anything. Dongbua Shui Ying transmitted. We can make our move now. It was a simple sentence, but it was filled with boundless killing intent. All right, there's no time to lose. Let's pull in the net today. Palace Lord Chun transmitted. Chapter 247. The black-white deity mountain was tall and majestic. On one of the peaks, the world's #1, Mountain Lord He Yuan was still sitting cross-legged. Beside him, 2 black and white crescent moons floated. Countless runes formed a complex, 3-dimensional diagram. Mountain Lord, he was currently comprehending it. Although he had long condensed a true deity heart and had high attainment in arrays, he was still unable to open his deity sea and become a deity. Moreover, with the threat of the demon general, even if the sky collapsed, there would be a tall person to hold it up. Mountain Lord, he naturally did not dare to relax. It was currently noon, and the sun was high up in the sky. The sunlight was resplendent and shone on his body, giving him a golden sheen. Mountain Lord he. Palace Lord Chun transmitted. Palace Lord, what's the matter? Mountain Lord he asked. I have an important matter for your black-white deity mountain. Palace Lord Chun transmitted. Immediately gather the other 2 demigods of your black-white deity mountain. When you are all gathered, I will inform you of the matter. I'm gathering them now? Mountain Lord, he hesitated. So urgent? Yes. Now, Palace Lord Chun ordered. Although the Xia people transcendents had absolute trust in the Infernal Palace Lord, they could not completely obey his orders. After all, every powerful Xia people transcendents had their own will. However, this order was not too excessive. It was only to gather the demigods of the black-white deity mountain. It was a very normal order. Soon, the other 2 demigods of the black-white deity mountain arrived one after another. They were Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong and Vice Mountain Lord Zong Nuo. Vice Mountain Lord Zong Nuo was extremely powerful, close to the top 10 demigods. Furthermore, he wielded another deity weapon of the black-white deity mountain. Actually, the black-white deity mountain had extremely high achievements in mages. They were split into 2 schools. One was the Black Deity Mountain School. The other was the White Deity Mountain School. Vice Mountain Lord Zong Nuo belonged to the Black Deity Mountain School and was a terrifying dark mage. Mountain Lord He Yuan absorbed the essence of both schools and became the world's #1 expert. Mountain Lord, what's the matter that made us rush over immediately? Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong asked with a smile. I was experimenting just now, but I was forcefully interrupted. Vice Mountain Chieftain Zong Nuo's hair was messy, and he seemed rather dissatisfied. You'll know soon enough. Mountain Lordy laughed. Immediately after, he revealed a puzzled expression as he looked towards the distant sky. Very quickly, Vice Mountain Lord Zong Nuo and Feng Dong also looked towards the distant sky. Rip, in the distant sky, the sky was torn open, and 2 figures flew out side by side. One was a skinny and bald old man, Chao Qing. The other was a humanoid formed from a sapling. The 2 of them turned into streaks of light and entered the black-white deity mountain in a flash, flying to the side of Mountain Lord He and the other 2. Old Chao, what are you doing here? Zong Nuo frowned and glanced at the humanoid plant beside her. Even the ancient tree guardian is here. The ancient tree guardian was one of the celestial warriors of the Xia people. I don't know either. Chao Qing was a little puzzled. It was the ancient tree guardian that found me. Then, Palace Lord Chun asked me to bring the ancient tree guardian over. Just when they were puzzled, Mountain Lord He, the 3 demigods of the black-white deity mountain, Chao Qing, and the ancient tree guardian will move together. Your target is the purple-scaled demon general. This is a spatial marker on the map. Only you know the target. Keep it a secret for the other demigods. Palace Lord Chin sent a message. Mountain Lord, he was shocked. Purple-scaled demon? That was a demon general with similar strength to him. No wonder so many experts were sent. The ancient tree guardian was the most proficient in binding among the deity world warriors. Its leaves and branches would extend out and entangle the enemy, making it hard for them to break free. There were also Chao Qing and Zong Nuo, who were both in the top 10 of the demigod rankings and wielding deity weapons. Ghost Knight Feng Dong, who had been defeated by Qiu Qi Bai, had cultivated his qi to the peak of demigod realm. His realm had also increased by quite a bit. Not to mention, there was still Mountain Lord He. If they worked together, it would be enough to deal with the purple-scaled demon. With my deity weapon, he can forget about escaping. Mountain Lord, he was very confident. He even felt that with the ancient tree guardian working with him, he would be able to kill the purple-scaled demon. Let's go. Once we reach the place, you will know. Mountain Lord, he directly brought them to the sky and tore open a crack in space, rushing towards the location marked on the map. Not only them, but the 4 transcendent organizations of the Xia people also received the order. The Water Taoist faction, Cloud City, and Sea Deity Palace also received the order and began to move. I have already arranged it. Palace Lord Chun said. 5 demon generals. The strongest 2 are the purple-scaled demon and the frost demon. The purple-scaled demon is Mountain Lord He, Chao Qing, Zhongnao, Feng Dong, and the ancient tree guardian. With such a strong force, the chances of success are very high. The frost demon was handed over to the Sea Deity Palace. The Grand Elder Palace head of the Sea Deity Palace wields the palace's deity weapon. In the ocean, he is invincible. He will bring 2 demigods under him and a deity world warrior. With the Sea Deity Palace's advantage in the ocean, it is enough to deal with the frost demon. As for the remaining 3, it is simple. Your Water Taoist faction's head Si Kong Yang, Chi Chiu Bai, and a deity world warrior will deal with the scarlet-armored succubus. City Lord Bu of Cloud City will bring Vice City Lord Chun Yuan and a deity world warrior to deal with the mountain demon. As for the other small transcendent organizations, I have arranged for a total of 3 demigods and a deity world warrior to deal with the shadow demon. Our strength is overwhelming and can restrain them. Palace Lord Chun was full of confidence. Dongbui Shui Ying also nodded. For this operation, even his own green armor protector had participated in the battle, because the entire Xia people had a total of 6 deity world warriors. In this battle, they had mobilized a total of 5. Only the one brought by Jing Xiu did not participate in the battle. The 5 battles were indeed overwhelming, and all of them restrained them very well. For example, Mountain Lord He and the rest are experts in arrays and techniques. Dealing with the purple armored demon, who is extremely strong in close combat, is very advantageous. Not to mention the ancient tree protector that can restrain close combat. Dongbui Shui Ying carefully considered Palace Lord Chen's arrangements and admitted that he had more than 90% confidence. This time, almost half of the Xia people's demigods have been mobilized. They're really going all out. Dongbui Shui Ying sighed. Excluding the Temple of the Earth God and Bloodshed Tavern, the Xia people had a total of 17 demigods. This time, more than half of them were mobilized. After all, the weaker demigods did not participate in the battle. We must win. Let's hope there are no accidents. Dongbui Shui Ying silently hoped. He could only hope that this battle plan did not require him to participate. Although he could display a very strong strength, Palace Lord Chun was also afraid. After all, Dongbui Shui Ying was too important. He had already made great contributions. What would happen after a few hundred years? Dongbui Shui Ying stood on the surface of the sea. He suddenly turned his head and looked toward the direction. He could feel a faint spatial fluctuation. The battle has begun. Chapter 248. Boom! Suddenly, a loud explosion came from afar, and the spatial fluctuations became even more intense. Dongbui Shui Ying's expression changed. He immediately took a step forward and entered the mirage, rapidly approaching the battlefield. His flying speed was at its peak, and he soon saw the huge battle that was taking place. On the azure sea, the tall, ice-blue demon was roaring angrily as he tried his best to escape. Frost demon, you can't escape. A shout resounded through the heavens and earth. It was a silver-robed woman with a crown on her head. It was one of the 2 divine artifacts of the Sea Deity Palace, the Sea Deity Crown. It was most suitable for transcendent mages to use. At this moment, this crown was emitting countless threads that spread through the surrounding thousands of li of seawater. Countless runes appeared in the seawater, and finally, the threads wrapped around the frost demon. In the distance, another transcendent mage, a black-robed elder, was casting a spell. A dazzling ball of light condensed in the sky, and for a moment, it was even more dazzling than the sun. This ball of light shot out a dazzling light that enveloped the frost demon, causing the scales on the surface of the frost demon's body to sizzle, causing him to howl in pain. You still want to escape from our sea deity palace on the sea? The strongest existence in the entire mortal world on the sea, the Grand Elder Palace head of the sea deity palace, was chasing after the frost demon at high speed. With just you, the tall, ice blue demon was still flying at high speed. The current situation was very disadvantageous to him. The two transcendent mages had forced him to use only 60 to 70% of his strength. He had to escape from this predicament as soon as possible. Yes, with just me. Today only death awaits you. At this moment, the Grand Elder Palace head's body seemed to be formed from water, and his entire body was faintly translucent. His water-like long hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He held a black pole in one hand, and this was the strongest divine artifact of the sea deity palace, the ocean primordial essence rod. At this moment, the heaven and earth energy in the surrounding thousands of li of the sea was constantly surging towards the ocean primordial essence rod. The Grand Elder Palace head's speed was extremely fast, and he had already caught up to the tall, ice blue demon. The long pole suddenly stabbed out, and in an instant, it turned into a golden light. It was terrifyingly fast, and it had already reached the back of the frost demon. The frost demon immediately turned around and used his sharp claws to block. Whoosh, cold air filled the air, and the cold air quickly froze everything in the surroundings, including the surging seawater. Even space began to freeze, and a layer of ice appeared on the surface of the long stick. Pong! The sharp claws grabbed the long staff, accompanied by a strange vibration. The frost demon's eyes widened, and its body trembled. The sound of bones breaking rang out, and it spat out a mouthful of purple blood. Blood seeped out of its ears and nostrils. Pong! After stabbing the long rod, the Grand Elder Palace head instantly flicked the long rod upwards. The Grand Elder Palace head's staff technique could only be described with one word: fast. Like before, it turned into a streak of golden light. The tip of the long stick directly hit the frost demon's chin. With a puff, the frost demon's chin completely shattered, and he was sent flying backwards. Phew! The Grand Elder Palace head's body was like flowing water as he instantly caught up. Then, he fiercely chopped down with the long staff in his hands. Pong! The frost demon was smashed into the sea below. Why is his staff technique so powerful? The frost demon was extremely anxious. His body was rapidly recovering, but he was still anxious. He was not afraid of competing purely in terms of speed, but his laws of profound mysteries were completely suppressed by the surrounding spells. He had grasped hold of the grade 3 true meaning, frozen space, but the surrounding seawater was being suppressed by the deity weapon of the sea deity palace. Under the suppression of the weapon, his frozen space could not display its full power. A head-on battle? The Grand Elder Palace head could completely suppress Mountain Lord He on the surface of the sea. He was clearly at a disadvantage just by relying on his body. Am I going to die here? The frost demon felt very sullen. This feeling of being completely suppressed was very unbearable. Die! The Grand Elder Palace head charged over. The frost demon gritted his teeth. With a savage expression, he finally displayed his innate skill as a high-ranked demon. Suddenly, a cold fog began to rise from the surface of his body. This incomparably cold fog pervaded the surrounding of his body, even blocking the suppression of the spells. At the same time, the frost demon's body shrunk, becoming only 6 meters tall. The scales on his body became even finer, and his originally handsome face became even more elegant. I, Ralph, am a noble high-ranked demon. How can I die in this mortal world? The frost demon, Ralph, said with a savage expression. Facing the incoming staff, he only used his right arm to block it. Under the impact, Ralph was only pushed back a step. A trace of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth, but his bones were not broken. Is that so? The Grand Elder Palace head sneered. Hwah! Suddenly, a greenish-gray fog rushed out from his wrist. The surging greenish-gray fog instantly wrapped around the frost demon, Ralph. Deity warrior? Ralph was infuriated. It was already very strenuous for him. Now, with this fog that could gather and disperse unpredictably, how could he fight? I already knew that you were a noble, high-ranked demon. I, the Xia people, also guessed that you had been hiding your strength. How could I not make preparations? The Grand Elder Palace head laughed sinisterly. High-ranked demon? Umph. Since you came to the Xia people, you must die. No. How did you know? How did you know I was here? And it just so happens to restrain me. Ralph went crazy. I was in the battleship. How did you discover me? A damn demon. There's no need to ask so many questions. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. Why? I didn't even bring a single subordinate with me. I shouldn't have discovered me. I was very careful. Ralph, haven't returned to my clan. I haven't become a demonic god. I haven't killed that damn brother of mine and seized the position of clan leader. I can't accept this. Ralph crazily struggled, trying to find a way out. Within the mirage, Dong Wuxue coldly watched this scene. Since he dared to kill the Xia people, he should have been prepared to be killed by the Xia people. On the other side, the purple-armored small demon, General Yin Zhe, was in an even more miserable state. Two black and white crescent moons descended from the sky at the same time. Like a rotating millstone, they directly smashed onto the body of the purple-armored small demon, causing his body to crack inch by inch. Mountain Lord, he coldly watched from afar. Beside him, the huge ancient tree guard swayed its branches and leaves. Thunder God Chao Qing was even more tyrannical. Dark Mage Zhong Nua sneered as he controlled the array. He won't be able to struggle for much longer. Ghost Deity Knight Feng Dong was so relaxed that he no longer needed to make a move. How did you guys discover me? How did you guys discover me? Impossible. It's impossible for me to be exposed. The purple-armored small demon, General Yin Zhe, seemed to have gone crazy. I didn't tell any of the other generals. The demonic faction doesn't know either. My subordinates know, but they are all in my battleship. How did you guys discover me? I can't accept this. Even if I die, I can't accept this. General Yin Zhe's eyes were filled with hatred. How cautious was he? He had been cultivating and waiting for an opportunity. But who would have thought that disaster would fall from the sky? Pooh! Abbot Si Kong Yang's entire body emitted a dazzling golden light. His palm was equally dazzling as he slapped the head of the scarlet-armored succubus. The body of the scarlet-armored succubus was completely shattered. Then it condensed once again. Abbot Si Kong Yang slapped again. The battle here progressed very quickly. Si Kong Yang and the others had long since obtained the absolute advantage. The scarlet-armored succubus no longer had any strength to resist. Now, she could only rely on her undying body to barely hold on. Even so, she was still being slapped and destroyed time and time again. Under the violent suppression of the sun, every attack was on the particle level. After a few more attacks, the scarlet-armored succubus would die. Her body condensed once again as her soul screamed in unwillingness. It's impossible for you Xia people to discover me. Impossible. The gray-robed old demon stared at the demigods of the Xia people in front of him. A terrifying, destructive array enveloped him, destroying his body time and time again. His body was entangled by countless runes, making it difficult for him to escape. Tell me, how did you discover me? How did you discover me? The gray-robed old demon roared in unwillingness. The mountains were flattened and the mountains were torn apart. City Lord Bu of Cloud Fog City, who was dressed in white, was leading the other demigods and deity warriors to the side. The 1,000-meter-tall demon general, the mountain demon, was lying on the ground like a huge hill. The white silk net had completely entangled him. He had been captured alive. How could this be? How could this be? How could I be discovered? It shouldn't be like this. The mountain demon, lying on the ground, was in complete despair. Chapter 249. Ying was currently standing on the peak of a low mountain peak on an island, watching the great battle that was taking place 1,000 kilometers away. With his naked eye's vision, he could still clearly see the scene of the battle from a distance of 1,000 kilometers. That area was filled with endless cold air, and space was frozen inch by inch. Superior Demon Ralph's body was extremely tyrannical, and he was still struggling. Palace Lord Chun, how is it? Dongboi Ying asked through the communication wristband. Ha ha ha. Snow Eagle. The situation is very good. The Shadow Demon and Scarlet Armored Succubus have been killed by us. The Mountain Demon has also been captured alive. Now, only the Purple Armored Demon and the Frost Demon are left. Palace Lord Chun was in a good mood. Mountain Lord has already said that they have the absolute advantage. The Purple Armored Demon will die soon. Only Grand Elder Palace Head side is slightly slower, and it will probably take the time to brew a cup of tea. Ying nodded. I know. I'm not too far away from Grand Elder Palace Head right now. This battle is indeed the most intense. This Frost Demon General Ralph has indeed been concealing his strength previously. Now that he's unleashed his full power, he's even stronger than what our intelligence report said. That's right, but this is also within our expectations. We have also made preparations, and he will only be able to hold on for a while longer. Palace Lord Chen said. Dongboi Ying smiled as he watched silently. Hearing the news of the demon generals dying one after another, Dongboi Ying heaved a sigh of relief. Every death represented a period of peace for the Xia people in the future. Who allowed you to invade our Xia people's world? You all treated us Xia people like livestock. Then we can only kill you all. Dongboi Ying muttered. Soon, the news came. Snow Eagle, the Purple Armored Demon General, is dead. Palace Lord Chun transmitted. Good. Dongboi Ying was overjoyed. This General Yinze was extremely patient. If he did not send his demonic avatar to ambush him, it would be hard to determine his true strength. Now, he had finally fallen. Of the 5, 4 had already fallen. Ralph, you're the only one left. Dongboi Ying looked at the battle from afar. The Grand Elder Palace Head and the other 2 demigods, as well as the Green Armored Protector, had an imposing aura. This was especially so for the Grand Elder Palace Head, who was constantly attacking Ralph. Ralph's body was incomparably tough, but his bones and scales were still broken time and time again. Every time the sea-suppressing primordial chaos rod, the strongest divine treasure of the Sea Deity Palace, struck Ralph's body, a portion of his scales would be destroyed, and his flesh and blood would be destroyed. This was destruction at the particle level. Ralph was covered in blood, but at the same time, he was recovering rapidly. This divine weapon is too unbearable. Every strike from it injures me. Ralph was in incomparable pain. And this deity world warrior, it keeps pestering me. Without the formation, without the help of the immortal world's warriors, Ralph was not afraid of Grand Elder Palace Master at all, especially after he unleashed his innate talent. He might even have the upper hand. However, the Xia people were here to kill him, not to fight one-on-one. Under this completely restrained siege, Ralph was unable to display his full strength. Ralph, for the 5 demon generals have fallen. You are the only one left. The Grand Elder Palace Master's voice shook Ralph's will. Half of my demonic body's life force has already been consumed. If this goes on, I will definitely die. Ralph struggled with all his might. I'm a superior demon. I am Ralph. I still have many things to do. How can I die in a mortal world? Gradually, he was heavily injured time and time again. He was unable to escape and could only continue to be injured by the sea-suppressing primordial chaos rod. The life force in his body was constantly being consumed. Ralph looked at the Grand Elder Palace Master who was surrounding him. His cold eyes were filled with despair. He growled, I'm going to die. Before I die, can you tell me, how did you discover me? How do we find you? The Grand Elder Palace head sneered. If I tell you, won't you just send a message to the demonic faction? Furthermore, why would a dying demon ask so many questions? Ralph was in even more pain. As a demon, he was not afraid of death. It was just that there were many things he had yet to do. He was unwilling to accept this. He did not even know how he was found, which made him even more unwilling. However, these Xia people were clearly unwilling to tell him the reason. In reality, it was not that they did not want to tell them. Mountain Lord He, the Grand Elder Palace Head, and the others had only received a message from Palace Lord Chen. As for how Palace Lord Chen knew the exact location of these demon generals, they did not know either. Since they did not know, they naturally had no way of telling these demon generals. The Grand Elder Palace Head's expression suddenly changed. Who? The other two demigods of Sea Deity Palace, the silver-robed woman and the black-robed elder, also turned their heads to look at the distant sky. The sun hung high in the sky, its rays brilliant. However, at this moment, a pitch-black crack suddenly appeared in the sky, and a figure walked out from it. Upon seeing this figure, the hearts of the Grand Elder Palace Head and the other two demigods trembled. This is 2,000 kilometers away. Dongbo Shuang, who was watching the battle, could also clearly see the figure walking out from the pitch-black crack. The moment he saw it, his heart involuntarily tightened. This was a mysterious person wearing a dark red armor. The surface of this dark red armor was incomparably smooth, and the mysterious person was even wearing a dark red horn helmet. The two huge curved horns on the helmet seemed to be able to pierce through the blue dome of heaven. His face was also covered by a dark red mask, revealing only a pair of eyes. His eyes, what kind of eyes were they? Dongbo Shuang was separated by 2,000 kilometers, so his vision was also slightly blurry. However, he could still faintly see that it was a pair of eyes that was surrounded by gray aura. Gray, the ultimate deathly stillness, the ultimate destruction. It was as if it carried the ultimate darkness. The surface of his armor was also surrounded by the same gray aura, an aura that would cause any transcendent to feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. Chi-chi-chi. A hoarse and ear-piercing sound could be heard, and the mysterious person in dark red armor slowly pulled out a huge scimitar from his back. The scimitar was extremely large, more than a meter long. This scimitar was completely blood red, as if its surface was covered in blood. A terrifying bloody aura emanated from the scimitar, allowing the Grand Elder Palace Head and the others to immediately confirm that this was definitely a godly weapon. Die! A cold shout was heard. The mysterious person in dark red armor waved the huge scimitar in his hand, as if it represented the ultimate death. Almost without a sound, the scimitar whizzed over, and the space immediately began to collapse and be annihilated. The seawater was annihilated, and even the surrounding sunlight was annihilated. It was as if everything in the world was being annihilated. The formation that was originally formed also began to collapse and be annihilated under this terrifying scimitar. Ordinary people would have to ponder over the profound mysteries of the formation in order to break through it, and to use force to break through it, they would have to face it head-on. However, under this scimitar, it was as if everything in the world was being annihilated. This was the annihilation of the profound mysteries of the laws. Without needing any power, the formation was annihilated. This kind of might was truly frightening. The Grand Elder Palace Head even had a feeling that if his sea god physique was struck by the scimitar, he would probably die in a single strike. Scram! The Grand Elder Palace Head suddenly shouted. This was the ocean, and this was his territory. In the ocean, he was invincible. The Grand Elder Palace Head's translucent body, which seemed to be formed from water, suddenly expanded. He wielded the ocean primordial staff with both hands and violently swung the godly weapon in his hands. In an instant, the ocean primordial staff transformed into a dazzling golden light, meeting the terrifying scimitar head-on at an astonishing speed. Hong! The huge scimitar and the ocean primordial staff collided head-on. An incomparably shocking shockwave spread out in all directions, and its might was terrifying. The Grand Elder Palace Head's entire body was shaken by the shockwave, causing the water body to disperse. At the same time, the dispersed water body rapidly retreated, before reforming again. As for the mysterious man, he was forced to take a step back from the shockwave, drawing upon the power of the ocean. The ocean primordial staff is indeed the strongest godly weapon in the ocean. The hoarse and unpleasant voice came from the crimson-armored, mysterious man. What? The Grand Elder Palace head's expression turned ugly. He broke the formation with a single slash, and even suppressed me. Superior Demon Ralph was still in a daze. Why are you still not leaving? Are you waiting for the demigods of the Xia people to surround and attack us? The crimson-armored, mysterious man coldly looked at Superior Demon Ralph. Ralph immediately became incomparably excited. Without hesitation, his figure flashed, and he immediately teleported to the side of the crimson-armored, mysterious man. The formation had been broken, and he could now teleport. The green armor protector alone could not stop Ralph. Let's go. The mysterious man brought Ralph, and with a ripping sound, they immediately left through a spatial crack. Palace Head, the other two demigods, and the green-armored protector rushed over. The Grand Elder Palace Head furrowed his brows, and his expression turned ugly. That mysterious man, wearing a crimson-armored cow-horn helmet, has a turbulent aura of dark magic. He should be from the demonic faction. It's just that the demonic faction actually has such an expert, or is he borrowing the power of a godly weapon? No matter what, his strength is a level higher than mine and Mountain Lord He's. Although he hasn't reached the stage of completely suppressing us, the advantage is already very obvious. Chapter 250. When Dongbua Shui Ying saw this scene from afar, he felt his heart skip a beat. Who was it? That mysterious crimson-armored man's strength was too astonishing. He was actually able to suppress the Grand Elder Palace Head in the ocean. This kind of strength was enough to be called the #1 expert under the heavens. Ordinary experts of the demonic faction could be ignored, but the appearance of an existence that could be called the #1 expert under the heavens was too shocking. What made Dongbua Shui Ying even more fearful was the fact that he had never heard of such an expert before. Just what is the great demon god and the sorcerer god planning? Such an expert has actually been hiding and has never appeared before. Moreover, he is even cultivating a god avatar. Dongbua Shui Ying furrowed his brows. Moreover, is this crimson-armored man a transcendent of the Xia people that I know? Not counting the Temple of the Earth God and the Bloodshed Tavern, the Xia people only have a total of 17 demigods. Including the Palace Lord Chun and the exposed Shiyun, there are a total of 13 demigods. That leaves only 4, and their strength is only SOSO. The remaining 4 could be counted on one's fingers. No matter how he looked at it, it did not seem like that mysterious crimson-armored man. Or could it be some unknown expert? Dongbua Shui Ying thought to himself. Or could it be a genius that was groomed by the demonic faction when he was still immortal? A storm is brewing. No matter what, if we want to hit a snake, we must hit it where it hurts. The biggest threat the demonic faction has to the Xia people is that god avatar. As long as we destroy that fleshly body and take away all the treasures in the demonic faction headquarters, a single expert will not be able to cause much trouble. Dongbua Shui Ying thought to himself. Suddenly, Snow Eagle. Palace Lord Chun transmitted. Palace Lord Chun, Dongbua Shui Ying replied. Are you thinking about the mysterious man? Haha, don't worry too much. At the very least, that mysterious person isn't one of the top demigods of the Xia people. As long as the top group of the Xia people are united, we have nothing to fear. Palace Lord Chun said confidently. Leave the matter of investigating his identity to us. You don't have to worry too much. Also, you can come over now. The demigods are very happy with this great victory. All right, I'll be right there, Dongbua Shui Ying said. After finishing his words, Dongbua Shui Ying stood at the top of a small hill, looking at the vast ocean, and let out a long breath. In any case, the threat of the demon army could be said to be minimal. The remaining weak demons posed a weaker threat and would be easily killed once discovered. The only survivor was the demon General Ralph. No matter what, he was just one person, If he dared to show himself, the Xia people could immediately surround and kill him. The previous 5 demon generals were the real problem. The 5 of them cooperated with each other from afar. It was extremely difficult for the Xia people to eradicate them. This time, Ying had discovered them in advance. He had made preparations in advance and carried out a targeted attack. Only by mobilizing all of his forces did he succeed. If it wasn't for this perfect opportunity to attack together, according to the history of the Xia people would have to pay a huge price. The death of hundreds of millions of mortals and the fall of demigods was normal. I've finally gotten rid of this huge threat. Ying felt a sense of accomplishment. Although he did not participate in the battle, this huge attack was single-handedly instigated by him. Using the true meaning of mirage, he had spent 6 years scouring almost half of the Xia people's world and found the location of the 5 demon generals. In an underground space of the Infernal Palace. Oh, humans, damned humans. If you have the guts, fight me one-on-one. In the underground space, there was a gigantic creature with its hands and feet chained up. This gigantic creature was the 1,000-meter-tall mountain demon. The mountain demon's 4 limbs were all chained up. Layers of runic arrays had seeped into his body, completely sealing his soul. The mountain demon could not even mobilize a shred of heaven and earth energy. Haha, this mountain demon is still clamoring at this point. A group of demigods from the Xia people were watching from the side, laughing and chatting with each other. Although they were here to celebrate, most of their main bodies were stationed at various locations. Most of them were Qi doppelgangers, magic power doppelgangers. The one Ying had rushed over was also a Qi doppelganger. His main body, along with the green armored protector and the gold man, had already replaced the Qi doppelganger to continue monitoring the demonic faction. Ying was sitting to the side, drinking fruit wine, while chatting with Chao Qing. At the same time, he glanced at the other demigod, Xiyan. This high priest of a demonic faction is really good at disguising himself. After so many years, he still hasn't revealed a single flaw. Xiyan's Qi doppelganger had also arrived. Under his scarlet eyebrows, his eyes were filled with a cold light. In order to kill this demon general, many mortals were implicated. We must not let him die too comfortably. We must make good use of him and dissect him. Indeed, many mortals were implicated. City Lady Boo furrowed her brows and lightly shook her head. His body is too huge. We tried our best to protect the mortals, but they were still implicated. The main reason is that the battle happened too quickly. There was simply no time to evacuate the mortals. Casualties are unavoidable, Palace Lord Chen said. Haha, Chao Qing laughed as he stood up and looked at the huge mountain demon in the distance. This old man is about to die. Who would have thought that I would be able to experience such a grand event before my death? In the history of the Xia people, we have experienced many demon invasions. For a demon invasion of this degree, 80 to 90% of transcendents below the demigod level would die. Even demigods would die. It was extremely tragic. But this time, we're in a much better situation. And the demigods of the Xia people all nodded their heads. That's right. They all had the courage to fight to the death. But this time, dealing with the demon invasion was indeed much easier than expected. Old Chen, we're all very puzzled. How do we discover the location of these demon generals? Si Kongyang smiled as he looked at Palace Lord Chen. Before those demon generals died and were captured, they were all extremely unwilling. They asked us, how do we discover them? Actually, none of us knew. That's right. Palace Lord, how do we find them? What kind of powerful method was it? Do we have to keep it a secret? If it's a secret, there's no need to say it. This group of top demigods of the Xia people were also curious. After all, there had been many demon invasions in history, but the Xia people had never discovered the means to do so. Palace Lord Chen looked at the group of demigods of the Xia people in front of him. All of them were looking at him. About this, Palace Lord Chen smiled. Hurry up and tell us. You're dragging your feet. You are still keeping us in suspense at this time. The demigods of the Xia people could not help but laugh and scold. Palace Lord Shan then said, "This concerns an important secret of the Xia people. Other than me, the other demigods are not qualified to know." Go, that's really the reason. No one asked further. After all, everyone knew the rules. The Xia people indeed had a set of rules to keep secrets. Many secrets were only known to the infernal palace lords. The group of people chatted and laughed as they ate and drank. They were all in a good mood. After all, it was as if a huge mountain had disappeared in an instant. Although there was still Ralph who was struggling at death's door, he was only one person. It would not affect the overall situation. Dongbua Shui Ying held onto a glass of fruit wine and walked to the side of the mountain demon. "So big," Dongbua Shui Ying exclaimed. The mountain demon's mouth emitted a metallic smell. Every single one of its teeth was bigger than an ordinary house. Ho, the mountain demon opened its eyelids. Its enormous dark yellow eyes stared at Shui Ying as it let out a low growl. This mountain demon is still not satisfied. Old man Chao Qing walked over. "I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied." The mountain demon let out a low roar and stared at the bald old man and young man. "This shouldn't have happened. This shouldn't have happened. You guys should not have discovered it." Chao Qing shook his head and laughed. "Snow Eagle, this mountain demon is really dead. He can't even understand why he died." And Dongbua Shuang nodded his head. He had not told the palace Lord Shan about the true meaning of mirage. The fewer people who knew about it, the more powerful it would be. Actually, it doesn't make a difference whether you know or not. Chao Qing squatted by the side of the gigantic mountain demon, laughing. "As long as we understand this point, our Xia clan will become stronger and will be able to resolve the demon calamity. That's enough. This old man is going to die at any moment. To be able to see the demon calamity resolved before I die, I'm really happy." As he spoke, Chao Qing raised his head and gulped down 2 mouthfuls of fruit wine. The wine juice flowed down from the corner of his mouth. "Yes, the Xia people have become stronger. That's enough." Dongbua Shuang smiled and nodded his head. The second chapter and the third chapter. Chapter 251. Within the oceanic forest world, one of the 9 major transcendent realms attached to the Xia people's world. This was a major world occupied by the Beast Clan. Oh, the entire oceanic forest world was filled with all sorts of howls and cries. On the crown of a huge tree, there was a wooden house. Within the wooden house, a white-haired old man was flipping through a book. He was the supreme leader of the Beast Clan, Grand Elder Ao Lon. A blurry figure appeared out of thin air in the distance, and with a flash, appeared in front of the wooden house. It was a skinny and beautiful lady. This lady had cat ears, and her face was covered with fur. Clearly, she was a beast in human form. "Grand Elder," the cat lady said respectfully. Grand Elder Ao Lon raised his head. "We've tried everything, but we can't find Dongbua Shuang." The cat lady was filled with grief and indignation. "We've already tried our best. All right, child. Continue your investigation. You must be patient." Grand Elder Ao Lon smiled. "Our Beast Clan has sent a transcendent among the Xia people. We tried to contact Dongbua Shuang through the communication wristband, but Dongbua Shuang didn't reply immediately. Even when he did reply, he rejected us, saying that he wanted to go into closed-door training. Perhaps he really is in closed-door training for a long period of time." The cat lady nodded. "You must be patient and wait patiently. Dongbua Shuang is very young. His closed-door training won't last for long, and he will eventually come out." Grand Elder Ao Lon said. "The moment we find him, our opportunity will come. All right, you may leave." "Yes." The cat lady's figure flashed, and she disappeared. Grand Elder Ao Lon closed his book, walked out of the wooden house, and walked on top of the treetop. This treetop was extremely huge, spanning a radius of several li, like a green sea. Standing on top of the treetop, Grand Elder Ao Lon looked at this vast world. His eyes, which were filled with wisdom, were filled with pain. Why Why is it that the ancestors of the Xia people gave us so many treasures, while the ancestors of the Beast clan were mostly selfish and foolish? The Xia people could use their spatial divine equipment to suppress the infernal realm and completely control it. As for us, the Beast clan, we have to deal with the counterattacks of the transcendent natives time and time again, and we have to pay with our lives. In a large transcendent world, once most of the transcendent natives died, the transcendent world would spend thousands of years to produce new transcendent natives. Therefore, when one batch died, another batch was born. It was very difficult to occupy a large transcendent world for a long time. The Xia people had only occupied the infernal realm, and they had relied on spatial artifacts. The magical beasts, on the other hand, had to fight to the death. Donghua Shuang, he makes me feel threatened. What a foolish high priest. He wouldn't even let him exert an extra bit of strength. The demonic faction has infiltrated even deeper into the Xia people. It will be much easier for them to find Donghua Shuang than for me. Great Elder Ao Lan was also somewhat angry, but he was also helpless. After all, he could not command the demonic faction. Grand Elder Ao Lan sensed something. This demonic faction's third priest actually contacted me. The third priest was the most mysterious demigod of the demonic faction. It was said that he was doted on by the great demon god and was extremely powerful. However, he rarely took action. Even when he contacted Grand Elder Ao Lan a few times, it was only through the communication wristband. He had never used the crystal ball to communicate, as if he was afraid of revealing even his simple appearance. Third priest, what's the matter? Grand Elder Ao Lan transmitted. Grand Elder Ao Lan, I would like to ask, weren't you trying to kill Donghua Shuang previously? The third priest asked. Yes, but your demonic faction did not cooperate. Grand Elder Ao Lan replied. Have you found him? The third priest asked. No, we couldn't find him at all. It seems that Donghua Shuang has been in closed-door cultivation for a long time. Grand Elder Ao Lan replied. All right, thank you. The third priest directly cut off the communication. Grand Elder Ao Lan was completely confused, cutting off the communication with just a few questions. In a gloomy valley, a mysterious man wearing dark red armor and a cowhorn helmet and the frost demon Ralph were standing together. At the same time, a gigantic evil head appeared in the air. This head had a thin face with scales on it and a pair of blood-red eyes. The gigantic head was illusory, but the evil feeling it gave off made the mysterious man and the frost demon nervous. Respected Great Demon God, Ralph said respectfully. Ralph Sokka thanks Great Demon God for saving my life. Oh, you are a member of the Sokka family. The gigantic demon god's head looked down. The last time I met Madoc was 30 million years ago. At that time, Madoc and I had just become the Great Demon God and were still very young. We fought side by side for 1,000 years. Ancestor Madoc is the ancestor of my Sokka family. I am just an unremarkable little demon from a branch family. Ralph said respectfully. Don't underestimate yourself. If you take that crucial step, you could become a demon god. With your Sokka family's talent, you have the potential to become a peak demon god. The gigantic illusory skull said, This time, I saved you. You need to work for me. I have some plans with the sorcerer god of the Beast clan. Once the plan is completed, I will reward you handsomely. You can come under my command. I will bestow you with a territory and let you become a demon overlord. I am willing to work for the great demon god. Ralph immediately knelt down on one knee, expressing his allegiance. What a joke. He was very clear of the background and identity of this great demon god. He was in existence on the same level as the Sokka family's ancestor. One must know that even his brother, the branch family's patriarch, who was a demon god, in front of this great demon god, he was just a little worm. If it was in the dark abyss, a demigod demon like him would not even be looked upon by this existence. The gigantic illusory skull nodded. Great demon god, we were ambushed at the same time. All 5 of us were ambushed. Ralph said, I don't understand. How did the Xia people discover us? We have battleships, so we shouldn't have been discovered so easily. Yet, we didn't notice at all. After knowing that the 5 of you were ambushed, I have been thinking about this as well. The gigantic snow eagle looked at the mysterious crimson-armored man beside him. Child, have you asked the great elder of the sorcerer god palace? Reporting to the great demon god, I have. The great elder said they have always been looking for Dongbua Shuang. However, for the past 6 years, they haven't been able to find him. Dongbua Ying should be in closed-door training. The mysterious crimson-armored man said. I have suspected it before, the illusory skull's voice boomed. For so many years, the Xia people have never been able to discover the locations of the demon generals so easily. The fall of the Crimson Rock Mountain happened 1,000,000 years ago. If the Xia people obtained some treasure from the Crimson Rock Mountain, they should have used it 1,000,000 years ago. When the demon army first arrived, the Xia people were also in a hurry to deal with it. In the end, they relied on Dongbua Ying to eliminate the threat in one fell swoop. He even killed a team of reincarnators from the Temporal Temple. In just 6 years, the locations of the 5 demon generals were all discovered. Coincidentally, he has been in closed-door training for the past 6 years. I can't help but suspect that the 5 of you were discovered by him. The gigantic illusory skull said. Dongbua Shuang discovered us? Ralph was shocked. The gigantic illusory skull's blood-colored eyes were filled with killing intent. Discovering you is a small matter. What I'm most worried about is the 5 of you are scattered all over the mortal world. To find the 5 of you, I'm afraid that he would have to search everywhere. While searching, would he have already discovered the most important headquarters of the demonic faction in the mortal world? The Frost Demon Ralph and the mysterious Crimson-Armored Man were both stunned. If he discovered us, then we would be in big trouble, the gigantic illusory skull said. Chapter 252. Once Dongbua Ying finds out about the importance of the demonic faction headquarters, he will definitely understand. He might even be keeping an eye on the demonic faction headquarters. The gigantic skull said, although this is only my suspicion, we can only prepare for the worst. My child, we need you to act now. I await your instructions, great demon god. The mysterious crimson-armored man respectfully said. Immediately set off to the headquarters. You must pretend to enter the headquarters normally and not reveal any flaws. When the time comes, you will directly head to the underground secret chamber. Take the bronze coffin and leave immediately. Run as fast as you can. As long as you can safely bring the bronze coffin out, you will have done a great service, the gigantic skull said. Bronze coffin? The mysterious crimson-armored man was puzzled. Is it very important? Then what about our headquarters divine weapon and great demon god's devil's well? What about the other treasures? Head to the headquarters and secretly send a message to the high priest. Tell the high priest to immediately take the devil's well and the other treasures and retreat. The gigantic skull said, maybe that Dongbua Shuang isn't as powerful as I thought, or maybe there are other reasons why the 5 demon generals were discovered. However, I would rather work for nothing. You must safely bring the bronze coffin out. Yes, the mysterious crimson-armored man immediately replied. He had never heard of the existence of the bronze coffin before. This was the first time he had heard of it. This is the location of the secret chamber, the gigantic skull said. Immediately, energy gathered to the side to form a 3-dimensional diagram. It was the detailed layout of the underground fortress, and it also marked the sealed secret chamber in the deepest part of the fortress. There is a creature inside the bronze coffin, so it cannot be stored in a storage treasure. Understood, the mysterious crimson-armored man replied. Remember, you must not reveal any flaws. Do not move, but if you do, immediately escape with the bronze coffin. Do not fight. The gigantic skull said. That was the physical body of his avatar that was about to descend. It was too important. It should be noted that a very, very long time ago, in order to fight for the faith of this world, he had only descended once. At that time, the Temple of the Earth God's avatar descended, and it was one of the top 3 great existences of the Temple of the Earth God's divine world. At that time, he fought crazily and finally lost. A godly clone was much more valuable than an ordinary godly treasure. It could be said that even if all the other treasures of the demonic faction were added together, they still wouldn't be as valuable as that fleshly body. That was why he sent his strongest subordinate in the Xia people's world, the third priest, to personally take away the clone's physical body. Wah! The mysterious man in dark red armor took a step forward, and his body tore open a crack in space, rushing toward the headquarters. Demonic faction headquarters. It was still the same underground fortress. In ethereal extent, Donghua Shui Ying had been keeping watch by himself for nearly 6 years, without relaxing for even a moment. The number of demonic faction traders he had discovered had already risen to a total of 9. Unfortunately, the most important demigod was still Shiyun. He was very patient. Even as a child, he was able to crazily practice his spear. This tenacity and patience made Donghua Shui Ying like a wolf hunting its prey, silently waiting for an opportunity. Perhaps in terms of direct combat strength, he was still weak and had yet to reach the level of the top 10 demigods. However, in terms of concealment and investigation, he was the undisputed strongest existence in the entire Xia people's world. As someone who walked in the ethereal extent, his stealth and infiltration skills left others in the dust. Not only did he discover the 5 demon generals, but he even found the mysterious demonic faction headquarters. Puyang. Donghua Shui Ying's gaze landed on a secret room in the underground fortress. The corner of his eye twitched slightly as he felt a trace of guilt in his heart. The current Puyang bow had already become a bag of bones. His entire body was like a skeleton, and his skin was covered with runes that seemed like curses. He was constantly under this kind of terrifying torture. The demonic faction's methods of torture were all on him. Donghua Shui Ying trembled at the sight of it. He was not sure if he would have collapsed under the same circumstances. However, Puyang did not collapse and did not lower his head. This made him feel guilty for Puyang, but at the same time, he also felt admiration for him. He also wanted to urge Palace Lord Shun to make a move. However, he also understood that the longer he monitored, the more secrets he would discover. Every traitor he discovered was equivalent to pulling out a hidden nail in the hearts of the Xia people. Furthermore, the sorcerer god and the great demon god's plan had yet to be discovered. Thus, he could only let Puyang endure. Puyang, everything will be fine after we rescue him. Donghua Shui Ying thought to himself. Now, I can only let you down. Donghua Shui Ying suddenly turned his head. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at the movement. Within the underground fortress, there was a spatial array that formed a spatial gate. All the transcendents of the demonic faction used this spatial gate to enter the headquarters. Thus, even though the transcendents had come to the headquarters many times, the location of the headquarters was still unknown to the traders. The spatial gate rippled. A figure walked in. It was the mysterious crimson-armored man with a huge scimitar on his back. He was still wearing his mask, but the pressure he emitted was extremely terrifying. It's him. Donghua Shui Ying's eyes lit up. He was the one who rescued Ralph. This person should be the strongest demonic faction's demonic god. Perhaps this time, I will have the chance to find out his identity. Who exactly was this crimson-armored man? It was still a mystery. The Xia people were also investigating this matter. Donghua Shui Ying immediately observed every movement in an attempt to uncover more secrets. The mysterious crimson-armored man arrived at the demonic faction headquarters. As he walked along the ice-cold corridors, the servants working in the headquarters were all incomparably respectful. To these servants, as long as it was a transcendent, they would have to be respectful. Third priest. The black-shrouded figure appeared in the corridor. His voice carried a hint of a smile. What a rare occasion. Third priest has actually come to the headquarters. What's the matter? Naturally, there's a reason. The mysterious crimson-armored man coldly replied. At the same time, he transmitted a message through his communication wristband. High priest, I've come under the orders of the great demon god. Don't reveal any expression of surprise and disguise yourself well. I'll tell you an important matter. Before I tell you, remember not to reveal any strange expressions. This important matter is there are suspected transcendents of the Xia people spying on our demonic faction headquarters. You must disguise yourself well. The black-shrouded figure was inwardly shocked. Fortunately, he had been warned. Otherwise, it would have been hard for him to conceal his shock. The great demon god has ordered me to take the bronze coffin. You will also take the demonic well and other important items from the demonic faction headquarters. The mysterious crimson-armored man transmitted. The bronze coffin? On what basis do you say that it was the orders of the great demon god? The black-shrouded figure immediately replied with a question. You wouldn't have deliberately given false orders, right? The implications of the bronze coffin were too great. The matter of nurturing the doppelganger of the great demon god was the sole responsibility of the high priest. The other transcendents of the demonic faction did not know of this. The great demon god told me to tell you 6 numbers. 1, 1, 5, 9, 21, 35. He said that after you heard these 6 numbers, you would believe him. Because there is a high possibility of someone spying on us, the great demon god did not reveal himself to give you the order in order to keep it a secret. The mysterious crimson-armored man transmitted. The black-shrouded figure no longer had any doubts. This was because these 6 numbers were the 6 times the medicine was changed. Other than him and the other deity warrior, only the great demon god knew about it. There are transcendents of the Xia people spying on us. This is our demonic faction headquarters. How is that possible? The black-shrouded figure did not dare believe it. Don't you know that the 5 demon generals have already been discovered? Of course, our headquarters will also be discovered. The mysterious crimson-armored man transmitted. But, the black-shrouded figure did not refute for a moment. However, in the long history of the Xia people, the demonic faction headquarters had never been discovered before. Stop talking nonsense and get ready to move, the mysterious crimson-armored man ordered. All right, the black-shrouded figure replied. Go and take the bronze coffin. Whenever you need me to move, just send me the order. The mysterious crimson-armored man turned his head and walked towards the most important secret room in the underground fortress. He had already made an agreement with the high priest, so there were no more problems. The most important thing now was to safely take the bronze coffin away. Chapter 253. The demonic faction headquarters was a flat, hexagonal fortress with a diameter of 500 li and a height of 5 li. The sealed secret room was deep under the fortress. It was only about 7 or 8 miles down the corridor. The mysterious man in dark red armor soon arrived at the sealed secret room. He's here? Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed as he observed the situation from within the mirage. The number 1 expert of the demonic faction coming here to check on the great demon god's doppelganger might not seem wrong, but it still aroused Dongbua Shui Ying's vigilance. Because today he just dealt with 5 demon generals, and in the blink of an eye, he came to this sealed room. It would be strange if Dongbua Shui Ying didn't have any suspicions. Dongbua Shui Ying teleported within the mirage and arrived at the location of the space gate. In terms of strength, this mysterious crimson-armored man was even stronger than Mountain Lord He and the others. He could be considered the number 1 expert under the heavens. Since he wasn't his opponent in a direct confrontation, he could only think of other methods. Palace Lord Chun, the situation isn't good. The mysterious crimson-armored man from the demonic faction has arrived at the headquarters and entered the secret room where the great demon god's doppelganger is hidden. Dongbua Shui Ying's Qi doppelganger in the Infernal Palace immediately transmitted a message to Palace Lord Chun. Just as the message ended, the mysterious crimson-armored man had already made his move. The door to the secret room opened. The moment the mysterious crimson-armored man stepped into the sealed room, his figure flashed without hesitation and appeared next to the huge bronze coffin that was suspended in midair. Grabbing the bronze coffin with one hand, A vast and mighty dark demonic energy enveloped the entire bronze coffin and swept away the huge chains by the side. The 13 chains were pulled out from the corners of the secret room, carrying the huge bronze coffin that was 20 meters long and 6 meters wide. The mysterious crimson-armored man instantly turned into a ray of light and charged towards the space gate. Too fast. To Dongbua Ying, this distance could be covered in the blink of an eye. Not to mention, this mysterious crimson-armored man was much stronger than Dongbua Ying. Therefore, when he grabbed the huge bronze coffin, his flying speed was so fast that it was as if he was teleporting. Whoosh! He had already crossed the distance of 7 to 8 miles and was next to the space gate. However, when he flew over, he saw a black-robed young man. Pucci! A long spear pierced through the array disk beside the spatial gate. The might of the extreme piercing pierced the interior of the array disk, shattering one of the core array disks of the spatial gate's array disk. The space gate, which had been stable all this while, instantly collapsed. Dongbua Ying, the mysterious crimson-armored man, gritted his teeth. "You're still too slow." Dongbua Ying grinned at him, but his eyes were filled with coldness. "Very good." The mysterious crimson-armored man's eyes were filled with killing intent. His best plan had been foiled. He was very confident in his own strength. He felt that as long as he had the bronze coffin, even if Dongbua Ying was lurking in the dark, he would not be able to destroy the coffin. However, he did not expect that Dongbua Ying would destroy the space gate in advance. One had to know that his best plan was to bring the bronze coffin through the space gate and then close the space gate. That way, even the transcendents of the Xia people would not be able to catch up to him. Now that the space gate was closed, it would be much more troublesome to escape. Boom! The mysterious crimson-armored man instantly pulled out the huge blood-colored scimitar from his back, his eyes filled with killing intent. "Block him, hold him back." Dongbua Ying retreated and waved his hand. Shwa shwa. 2 rays of light shot out at the same time. One was a surging greenish-gray fog that covered the entire sky, and it directly wrapped around a mysterious crimson-armored man. Although the blood-colored scimitar was powerful, it still used its body to block it. After all, it was a Celestial Realm warrior. It was extremely difficult for even a Celestial Realm warrior to destroy it. The other ray of light was a burly black man. This burly black man was actually the Gold Man. However, Dongbua Ying did not want the fact that he went to the Black Wind Deity Palace to be exposed, so he asked him to change his skin color slightly. One had to know that, although the Black Wind Deity Palace was very famous, in reality, there was no one in this era who could actually kill their way through all the checkpoints and personally see the Gold Man. Therefore, as long as he changed his skin color slightly, no one would be able to recognize him. The Gold Man was incomparably domineering, and he directly punched out. In an instant, his fist was like the sun in the sky, dazzling and emitting endless golden light, bringing with it a terrifying might. Dongbua Ying was shocked when he saw this. Good fellow, this punch should have the strength of the top 3 demigods. As expected of the top Celestial Realm warrior that specializes in offense. He punched out. Golden light filled every inch of the space. On the other side, the blood-colored scimitar emitted a dusky aura. The surrounding space began to collapse, and everything began to be annihilated. The originally incomparably dazzling and domineering fist was also destroyed. However, the fist itself was still intact, brazenly colliding with the scimitar. Rumble! It was indeed a head-on collision. Whether it was the mysterious crimson-armored man or the Gold Man, both of them specialized in frontal attacks. The might of this strike caused the surrounding underground fortress of the demonic faction to tremble, and the surrounding walls began to distort. This was the demonic faction headquarters, after all, and was incomparably sturdy. However, it was still damaged at this moment. The Gold Man was struck and retreated 11 steps, each step causing a huge crater to appear on the sturdy ground. However, the Gold Man was still filled with fighting spirit, and his eyes burned with excitement. He held such a powerful transcendent. It's been a long time since I met one. Come, 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 let's continue fighting. At this moment, the greenish-gray fog had already begun to bind the mysterious crimson-armored man. Damn it! The mysterious crimson-armored man became even more anxious upon seeing this. Two celestial realm warriors? One was binding him, forcing him to constantly use his dark magic power. The dark magic power contained the laws of profound mysteries to resist. This had reduced his strength by 20%. Not to mention the incomparably valiant Gold Man. He had actually used his fist to clash with his deity weapon. These celestial realm warriors are impossible to destroy. They are extremely troublesome and will always stick to me. Although the mysterious crimson-armored man was anxious, there was nothing he could do. Furthermore, he remembered the orders of the great demon god. Do not continue fighting. Bringing back the bronze coffin would be the greatest contribution. High Priest, this place has been exposed. Hurry up and move. Also, the spatial gate has been destroyed. Open the gate, I want to leave. The mysterious crimson-armored man immediately transmitted. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the High Priest, who had received the news, was greatly alarmed. However, he still immediately took control of the entire demonic faction headquarters. The huge hexagonal fortress, which was originally completely sealed, began to split open at the top. Dark power surged around the mysterious crimson-armored man. This surging dark power even wrapped around the bronze coffin. The dark magic carried the profound mysteries of ultimate death and destruction as it kept surging, blocking the Gold Man and the azure-armored guardian. The green-armored guard continued to restrain him, while the Gold Man continued to attack ferociously. Xiao! He carried the bronze coffin in one hand and the blood-red scimitar in the other. The mysterious crimson-armored man transformed into a streak of light and soared into the sky, rushing toward the exit of the passageway. The Gold Man and the green-armor guard did their best to keep up with him. Donghua Shui Ying immediately followed behind. With the Gold Man and Gold Man pestering him, Donghua Shui Ying was able to keep up with them easily. At worst, he could just enter the Void Realm, where he could teleport. I hope that Palace Lord Shun doesn't make any mistakes at this crucial moment. Donghua Shui Ying was secretly anxious as he chased after the mysterious man at high speed. When he destroyed the spatial gate, he had already transmitted to Palace Lord Shun, informing him, "The demonic faction has already discovered my investigation. That mysterious man has already escaped with a bronze coffin. I have already made arrangements. Snow Eagle, try your best to delay him." Palace Lord Shun replied. Chapter 254. In the underground space of the Infernal Palace, a group of demigods from the Xia people had gathered. We, the Xia people, have found the location of the demonic faction headquarters. This is the map. All demigods of the Xia people, hurry here, attack and kill all enemies. When Palace Lord Shun received Donghua Shui Ying's message, he immediately gave the order to all the other demigods of the Xia people. "Don't hesitate. Move out," shouted Palace Lord Shun. "Yes. Quick, quick, quick." Immediately, some of the demigods of the Xia people started to teleport away, while others were not in a hurry. This was because the majority of the demigods who came to celebrate today were their chi avatars. Their main bodies still had to oversee the various parts of the Xia people's world. The moment they received the order, their main bodies immediately tore through space and headed towards their destination. Oh, there is only one demigod who did not receive the order from Palace Lord Shun. "What's wrong with you guys?" Xian looked at the demigods of the Xia people with a puzzled expression. This caused some of the demigods of the Xia people to look at Shi Yun in confusion. Could it be that Xian did not know? Palace Lord Shun looked at him coldly. Boom! A terrifying, formless energy descended. Xian's chi avatar's expression changed. Before it could resist, the formless energy compressed it from all directions. Paji, Xian's chi avatar was completely crushed. In the infernal realm, Palace Lord Shun was invincible. The spatial device had long since refined and controlled this large, transcendent world. Therefore, the power of the entire infernal realm was under Palace Lord Chen's control. Not only could he control the power of the greater world, he could also control the power of the spatial device. With these two powers on him, even during the largest descent of the abyss demons in history, there were more than 300 demigod demons. The mortal world was instantly lost, and the Xia people could only defend the infernal realm. However, there were more than 300 demigod demons, and the strongest among them were much stronger than Ralph and the others. Yet, in that era, they were still unable to break into the Xia capital. Palace Master. The demigods of the Xia people who were not in a hurry to leave were all shocked beyond words. Shi Yun is the high priest of the demonic faction. Palace Lord Chen coldly said, "You will naturally know once we break through the demonic faction headquarters." He's the high priest? Shi Yun? They quickly accepted it. After all, it was only killing a Do Chi doppelganger. It was considered a mistake. It didn't have much of an impact. What shocked them the most was the message they had just received. It was the location of the demonic faction headquarters. Ever since the birth of the Xia people, generation after generation of transcendence had yet to discover the demonic faction headquarters. The place that had always been a mystery was finally revealed. Demonic faction headquarters. Don't let anything go wrong. Dongbua Shuiying, on the other hand, was extremely anxious. Even if the Palace Lord Chen sent the demigods of the Xia people to rush over, it would still take at least a breath's time. A breath's time? This mysterious crimson-armored man had long escaped. As for relying on himself to intercept him, Dongbua Shuiying was not confident. After all, this mysterious man's strength could be said to be number one under the heavens. Xiao, the mysterious man, carried the bronze coffin in one hand and the huge scimitar in the other. In an instant, he rushed out of the underground fortress. The moment he exited the underground fortress, the space outside was no longer sealed. Chua, he immediately teleported, although the green armored protector and the gold man were tangling with him. It was clear that this mysterious man had some achievements in teleportation. He was able to easily teleport through the intense battle. Escaping, Dongbua Shuiying followed closely behind the mysterious man and rushed out of the demonic faction headquarters. With the stellar fire cloud spear in his hand, his eyes were filled with killing intent. The doppelganger of the great demon god had to be killed. Who? Dongbua Shuiying's figure instantly disappeared. He followed the direction of the mysterious man's escape and directly used extreme piercing. With a single teleportation, the mysterious crimson-armored man arrived on the surface with a slight change in expression. He turned his head back so fast. This Dongbua Shuiying's speed is actually faster than teleportation. With his senses, he could clearly sense an expert piercing through the void and rushing towards him. The mysterious man took a step back. This step covered a distance of tens of meters. At this time, Dongbua Shuiying appeared out of thin air. However, when he appeared, he discovered that he was actually tens of meters away from the mysterious man. Furthermore, the mysterious man had already slashed out with his huge blood-colored scimitar. An aura that caused one's heart to palpitate filled the air. There was almost no sound. It was very faint, like the sound of a breeze. Wherever the scimitar passed, the space would be annihilated. Even the surging river below would be annihilated. An expert, Dongbua Shuiying hurriedly used extreme piercing again. His figure disappeared and dodged the attack. This was the first time he had suffered a setback when using extreme piercing. When he was dealing with Saint-class transcendence, he would be able to pierce through a rank 5 demon with a single move. Those rank 5 demons couldn't even react in time. However, against a person who was much stronger than a rank 5 demon, a mysterious person whose strength might already be the strongest in the world, his extreme piercing was no longer as miraculous as before. The opponent could clearly sense it, and the opponent's movements were so fast that he could easily change his moves. You still need to practice more. The mysterious man snorted coldly. Then, he continued to leave. Suddenly, an invisible force that blotted out the sky and covered every inch of space in the surroundings. Even the raging river below, as well as the gorge on both sides of the river, seemed to have fallen into silence. Everything was silent, and the river instantly froze and stopped flowing. This is... Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed. The power of heaven and earth in the surroundings had completely solidified. Even he was unable to use extreme piercing, let alone teleport. Hua! Dongbua Shui Ying and the mysterious man in crimson armor stood above the river and looked up at the sky at the same time. High up in the sky, a huge object was slowly descending. It was a black battleship that was 1,000 meters long and 200 meters wide. As it descended from the clouds, everything within a 5,000-kilometer radius of the battleship froze, including the demonic faction headquarters underground. On the body of this black warship were 2 unique runes. If translated into the language of the Xia people, they would read Ding Jiao. Ding Jiao warship. The mysterious man in crimson armor's expression changed. Ding Jiao warship. Dongbua Shui Ying revealed a joyful expression. Among the Xia clan's true top-notch deity weapons, the Infernal Palace was a spatial divine weapon that controlled the entire infernal realm. Senior Snow was a divine weapon with the strongest offensive power. As for the Dingjiu warship, it was a moving fortress that could be used to attack cities. The value of this Dingjiu warship was much higher than that of ordinary divine weapons. According to the records of the Xia people, this was the standard warship of a powerful nation in the deity world. The name Dingjiu represented the grade of this warship. In the deity world, it might be considered a mediocre warship. However, in the mortal world, it was more than enough to move unhindered. The ancestor of the Xia people, Emperor Yinhai, had paid a huge price to send this warship to the mortal world. The moment the warship appeared, everything within 10,000 li of it froze. Even extreme piercing could not shake it. This was much more tyrannical than the Black Wind Deity Palace. Snow Eagle, leave it to me. Palace Lord Chun directly transmitted. Palace Lord, you actually managed to bring out the Dingjiu warship. Beautifully done. Dongbua Shui Ying also relaxed. When we surrounded the 5 demon generals, I was also worried that we would alert the enemy. The demonic faction would take action. Thus, I first dispatched the Dingjiu warship over. In order to keep it a secret, I was the only one who knew about the Dingjiu warship. My Chi doppelganger personally came over to guard it. The moment there is any movement, I will immediately suppress the surrounding 10,000 li. The only thing I'm worried about is the spatial array. That's why you told me to break the spatial array if there is an accident. Dongbua Shui Ying also understood. I was afraid that you would be a step too slow and fail to break the spatial array. Palace Lord Chun transmitted. But I believed in you, and I had to gamble. After all, the moment we attacked the demonic faction, the 5 demon generals would probably join in, and the difficulty of the attack would increase. Didn't I make the right gamble? You destroyed the spatial array. In front of the Dingjiu warship of the Xia people, everything within 10,000 li will be under our control. I'm guessing that this mysterious person is going crazy. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Chapter 255. The Crimson Armored Man was indeed anxious. The demonic faction had existed for so long in the Xia people's world. Of course, they knew about the Dingjiu warship of the Xia people. They also knew that this warship was capable of sealing off an area of 10,000 li. An area of 10,000 li? What should I do? Should I fly slowly? I'm afraid that before I can even fly out, a large number of Xia people's demigods will arrive. Although he was anxious, there was someone even more anxious than him. Damn it! An illusory image of the great demonic god's head appeared on his dark red armor. As the 3rd priest of the demonic faction, he was the strongest and most valued member of the demonic faction. He possessed 2 divine artifacts. The armor on his body and the blood-colored scimitar were both divine artifacts. Coupled with his perfect demonic body, The third priest's strength was enough to suppress the grand elder palace head in the ocean. However, the deity weapons of the Xia people were temporarily lent to the Xia people. The demonic faction's deity weapons were also lent to the third priest. The deity weapons were left behind by the great demon god. Hoo. Suddenly, four figures swooped down from the Ding Jiao warship, forming an encirclement as they attempted to intercept the third priest from four directions. These four figures were the four deity warriors. After killing the demon general, these deity warriors followed the orders of the palace Lord Shun and arrived at the Ding Jiao warship. Great demon god. The crimson-armored man looked up at the black Ding Jiao warship in the sky and transmitted anxiously, "What do we do now?" Use the shadow command and escape. Although the shadow command is used to protect one's life and not specifically to increase one's speed, it is still a great help. The phantom of the great demonic god's skull on the crimson armor said anxiously, "Run as fast as you can. The faster the better." Even if the Xia people's demigods rush over, it won't be easy for them to surround you. As long as you escape from the Ding Jiao warship's range, with your strength, you have a chance of escaping. No matter what, we must protect this bronze coffin and bring it back. Yes. A strange talisman appeared out of thin air in front of the mysterious crimson-armored man. The talisman was gray in color, and there were demonic patterns on it. Poof! The dark magic forcefully crushed the talisman. The talisman instantly shattered, and the power contained within it was completely activated. An invisible force immediately acted on the mysterious man in dark red armor. His body began to turn transparent, and his entire person seemed like a blurry shadow. Xiao! His speed suddenly soared, and he turned into a stream of light, fleeing at high speed. In the blink of an eye, he had already flown over the river, over the tall mountains, and into the distant horizon. It was too fast. His speed is so fast. Donghua Shuiying, who was already full of confidence, was shocked. It was too fast. One must know that his current flying speed was considered very fast. Even among demigods, he was considered to be of a higher standard. His flying speed was about 50 kilometers per second. As for Donghua Shuiying, he had heard that the fastest demigod's flying speed was about 300 kilometers per second. This mysterious crimson-armored man's speed previously was not too bad. But now that he had turned into a blurry shadow, his speed had increased tremendously, reaching a shocking speed of 800 kilometers per second. In other words, even if the other demigods of the Xia people came, it would be difficult for them to surround him. Phew! Donghua Shuiying waved his hand, keeping the green armored guard and the gold man, following which, his figure distorted and he entered the mirage. Within the mirage, Donghua Shuiying teleported. Although the Ding Jiao warship was powerful, it could not suppress and solidify the mirage. Therefore, within the mirage, Donghua Shuiying could teleport. Shwa. If you can travel 800 kilometers per second, I can travel 100 kilometers with a single teleport. I can easily catch up to you. Inside the Ding Jiao warship, Palace Lord Shun stood in the hold of the warship, looking at the image displayed in midair. It showed the mysterious crimson-armored man fleeing, while Donghua Shuiying disappeared into thin air. What true meaning did Snow Eagle comprehend? He was able to easily monitor the demonic faction, and now that he suddenly disappeared, this Ding Jiao warship is unable to sense him. Palace Lord Shun was somewhat startled. Only the most famous true meanings were recorded in the deity world. There were still many that had not been recorded. For example, the fusion of different laws of profound mysteries to form a new grade 2 true meaning. These were all unpredictable. Although Palace Lord Shun was curious, he did not pursue the matter. He felt that the fewer people who knew, the better. Snow Eagle, there's no need for you to take action. Leave it to me, Palace Lord Shun instructed through the communication wristband. I still need some time to prepare. The other aspects of the Ding Jiao warship are good, just that it takes some time to activate. I'm not a transcendent mage. If Mountain Lord he were to control the Ding Jiao warship, things would be much better. And I'll be done soon. Later, you can destroy that fleshly body. Within the mirage, His chi avatar was able to receive messages, so Shui incuriously teleported behind the mysterious crimson-armored man. He was only a few dozen kilometers away from him. Wah! Donghua Shui Ying's eyes widened as he looked at the scene outside the mirage in shock. Boom! With the mysterious crimson-armored man as the center, a gigantic spherical shadow suddenly appeared out of thin air. The spherical shadow was densely packed with countless runes, and the complex runes formed this incomparably mystical array. This spherical illusion had a diameter of 3,000 kilometers. The moment it appeared, it began to crazily plunder the lightning energy of the world. In the blink of an eye, an enormous lightning sphere with a diameter of 3,000 kilometers had appeared. Tutu, Donghua Shui Ying stared at this scene. A diameter of 3,000 kilometers. His current position in the real world was also inside this lightning sphere. Even the demonic faction headquarters underground was inside this enormous lightning sphere. Fortunately, the demonic faction headquarters was located deep within a desolate and uninhabited mountain. They were afraid that too many people would come and go as they pleased. If there were too many people, they would randomly dig and build. Thus, the more inaccessible the place was, the better. This also prevented the mortals from being harmed in this war. Voila, countless lightning bolts suddenly began to converge. In the blink of an eye, the lightning sphere with a diameter of 3,000 kilometers had condensed into a small, and this dot was the third priest. The enormous lightning sphere instantly condensed into a single point. The surrounding world turned silent in an instant. All sound seemed to have disappeared. Donghua Shui also stared blankly at this scene, following which that a condensed on the third priest's body suddenly erupted with an incomparably terrifying might. Donghua Shui could only feel his eyes being scorched by a blinding light, following which the light dissipated. Only then did Donghua Shui see the scene in front of him clearly. The body of the third priest, which had turned illusory like a shadow, was currently falling downwards. His body seemed to be damaged and incomplete. The blood-red scimitar had already been blasted far away. Naturally, what was also blasted away was the bronze coffin. That bronze coffin, after experiencing such a terrifying explosion, was actually still in perfect condition. The 13 chains were still wrapped around it. Wake up! Wake up! The image of the great demon god's head appeared on the dark red armor of the third priest. At this moment, the great demon god was frantic as he roared, "Idiot, wake up! Hurry, hurry!" The third priest suddenly regained his consciousness. He had a perfect demonic body and was immortal long ago. Furthermore, he was protected by a deity armor, and his body was illusory. Therefore, he was only slightly injured. His body did not completely disintegrate into particles. Strictly speaking, his injuries were not serious at all. However, that thunderous explosion seemed to have penetrated deep into his soul. In an instant, his soul went blank, and he was completely stunned. It was the angry roar of the great demon god that penetrated deep into his soul that caused him to gradually regain his consciousness. Hurry! Hurry and retrieve the bronze coffin. Hurry! The illusory head of the great demon god urged. It seems like this bronze coffin is really important to the great demon god. The third priest thought to himself. He had never seen the great demon god lose his composure like this. He was very curious as to what was inside the bronze coffin. After the third priest regained his consciousness, he immediately transformed into a beam of light and flew towards the bronze coffin. At the same time, he extended his hand, and the blood-red scimitar that was tossed far away also flew towards the third priest. How fast was the third priest's flying speed? In an instant, he was flying towards the bronze coffin. The illusory head of the great demon god heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, a hand reached out from nothingness and grabbed a corner of the bronze coffin. Then, with a tug, the bronze coffin was dragged into nothingness. The third priest was stunned. Gone? The bronze coffin that was right in front of him just now disappeared into thin air. Damn it! Damn it! You idiot! Idiot! The illusory head of the great demon god had completely gone mad and was howling madly. Chapter 256. After the huge ball of lightning shrunk into a dot and exploded, Dongbua Shuang saw the third priest falling and the bronze coffin flying into the distance. He only froze for a moment before making his decision. This bronze coffin was actually not damaged in the slightest by such a powerful explosion. If I want to open the coffin and destroy the body, I'm afraid there will be some twists and turns, so Dongbua Shuang teleported within the mirage and arrived near the bronze coffin. He then extended his hand into the real world and grabbed a corner of the bronze coffin. He then directly dragged it into the mirage. Let's bring it away first. Dongbua Shuang glanced at the great demon god's head that appeared on the dark red armor worn by the third priest. He could not help but sneer as he felt extremely carefree in his heart. Grabbing the bronze coffin, Dongbua Shuang immediately teleported at high speed and quickly arrived within Ding Jiu's worship. In the main hall of Ding Jiu's worship, Palace Lord Chun was present. As for Dongbua Shuang, he single-handedly dragged the huge bronze coffin and directly walked out of the mirage. Snow Eagle, Palace Lord Chun was filled with excitement. Good, good, good. Beautifully done. Haha, our biggest goal this time has been accomplished. The next step is to attack the demonic faction headquarters. I'm afraid the demonic faction headquarters will still need you, Snow Eagle. No rush. I'll first save the person. Dongbua Shui Ying's figure immediately distorted as he once again entered the mirage. Using his fastest speed, he arrived at the punishment chamber of the demonic faction headquarters. When he saw the bone-thin Puyang bow tied up inside the punishment chamber, he heaved a sigh of relief. What he was most worried about was, would the demonic faction headquarters become desperate and kill Puyang Bo? However, the body of the great demon god's doppelganger was too important. Once the physical body matured, the great demon god would descend upon the Xia people successfully. It would be an unprecedented catastrophe for the Xia people. Even a newly ascended god wouldn't be able to stop a clone of the great demon god. Therefore, he did not care about Puyang at that time. He first destroyed the space array, then chased after the third priest. Now that he had successfully seized the physical body of the great demon god's clone, the first thing he did was to save Puyang. I was thinking too much. Right now, the demonic faction is probably thinking of ways to block the attacks of the transcendence of the Xia people. Why would they care about a sky realm transcendent? Dongbua Shuang smiled and immediately grabbed Puyang Bo's body. His fingers gently touched the chains that were wrapped around Puyang Bo's body. The chains immediately turned into dust, and Puyang Bo's body was dragged into the mirage. Dongbua Shuang held Puyang Bo in his arms. Feeling his skin and bones, Dongbua Shuang couldn't help but feel guilty. He had watched Puyang Bo suffer for 6 years. He returned at high speed. Within the mirage, Puyang Bo's consciousness gradually recovered. Actually, he had already become numb to the torture of these past few years. It was as if his body wasn't himself anymore. Even his soul had been ravaged many times. However, he always had a belief: never lower his head. Never lower his head. As long as he didn't lower his head, there was still hope. It was a very weak belief that allowed him to hold on until today. Palace Master. A faint voice came from outside. The voice was faintly discernible, as if it came from beyond the 9 heavens. Puyang Bo. His situation is very dangerous. His soul has been sealed and has been tortured many times. Wait for a moment. Mountain Lord, he will be here soon. He is the most powerful, transcendent mage. He is the most confident. Mountain Lord, hurry up and save Puyang. Brother, saving Puyang is more important. The demonic faction headquarters is covered in layers of arrays. It won't be easy to attack, so there's no need to be anxious. I will take charge of Ding Jiu's worship first. You can take over after you save Puyang. Okay, leave it to me. The voice outside was very weak. Puyang Bo wanted to open his eyes, but he couldn't. Inside the huge hall of the warship, Dongbo Shui Ying looked at Pu Yangbo, who was lying on a bed from his storage bracelet. Mountain Lord, he was already treating him. Pu Yang. Dongbo Shui Ying's heart was filled with guilt and discomfort. As a Do Qi cultivator, he was helpless when it came to the soul. Snow Eagle, don't blame yourself. What you did was agreed upon with me. You didn't do anything wrong. Furthermore, it was you who saved him. Palace Lord Chun consoled him from the side. I could have saved him, but I didn't. I don't regret my decision. I just feel sorry. Dongbo Shui Ying shook his head. At this time, the image in the air above the main hall had already started to show the demonic faction demigods one after another. Ding Jiu's warship had already descended. It was now very close to the demonic faction headquarters. Ding Jiu's warship also began to display layers upon layers of methods, coordinating with the demigods of the Xia people as they began to surround and attack the demigods below. Rumble. Due to the explosion of the gigantic lightning sphere, the surrounding mountains and rivers had long been turned into nothingness. The demonic faction headquarters was now completely exposed. The surface of the hexagonal fortress was currently covered in countless runes and arrays, completely blocking all the attacks of the Xia people. A breath of time had already passed. Although the third priest met with some obstructions at the end, he still managed to escape with his terrifying speed. After all, the third priest's speed was too fast and his strength was too strong. With the surrounding space sealed, the demigods of the Xia people were unable to teleport. Thus, they could only attack from afar. Snow Eagle, attacking the demonic faction headquarters, is a bit troublesome. Palace Lord Chun said, I have already informed the Temple of the Earth God. The Temple of the Earth God and the demonic faction are mortal enemies. They will also attack the demonic faction headquarters with all their might. However, they probably won't be able to directly infiltrate the demonic faction headquarters. Thus, we will need your help to infiltrate and destroy it. All right, Dongbo Shui Ying nodded. The other 4 deity warriors will also temporarily follow me. All right, Palace Lord Chun revealed a happy expression. With the layers of arrays, attacking from the front would be too difficult. Attacking from the inside would be much easier. Previously, Palace Lord Chun had seen the gold man disguised as black. Others might not have noticed anything, but Palace Lord Chun was very clear that he had only given a green armored guard. Yet, Dongbo Shui Ying had a black gold man? In addition to Dongbo Shui Ying's infiltration methods, and the fact that he had previously said that he would attempt to break into the Black Wind Deity Palace, Palace Lord Chun could guess that Dongbo Shui Ying should have already obtained the treasures of the Black Wind Deity Palace. Regarding this, Palace Lord Chun was rather happy. Compared to Ancestor Black Wind, Dongbo Shui Ying clearly valued the Xia people more. Snow Eagle was able to infiltrate? What realm did Mountain Lordy have? He was able to easily undo the Soul Seal and the many rune punishments placed on Pu Yangbo by the demonic faction. Currently, he was only slowly healing the many injuries on his soul. Hearing the conversation between the two, he could not help but be startled. Snow Eagle? Palace Lord Chun looked towards Dongbo Shui Ying. There's no need to hide it. Now that the demonic faction knows about it, and the enemies know about my methods, there's no need to hide it from our own people, Dongbo Shui Ying said. Snow Eagle has a special infiltration and investigation method. It's a grade 2 true meaning that he grasped. It's precisely by relying on this method that we were able to find the 5 demon generals, as well as this demonic faction headquarters. Palace Lord Chun said, furthermore, it was also by relying on Snow Eagle that we were able to easily capture the physical body of the great demon god's avatar. Dongbo Shui Ying added, if not for Ding Jiu's warship blasting the bronze coffin away, I wouldn't have had the chance to act. Don't be modest, Palace Lord Chun laughed. He was very clear that Dongbo Shui Ying had contributed greatly to this matter. Mountain Lord, he was somewhat dazed. Another grade 2 true meaning, discovering the 5 demon generals and the demonic faction headquarters, and the avatar of the great demon god? Hua hua hua. Very soon, the other 4 deity warriors arrived. I'll be leaving first. Donghua Shui Ying did not bother to explain. With a wave of his hand, he collected the 4 deity warriors. Who? Donghua Shui Ying's figure instantly distorted and disappeared. Seeing Donghua Shui Ying disappear in front of his eyes, Mountain Lord, he was even more astonished. Even with his current realm, he could only vaguely sense that Donghua Shui Ying had entered another hidden space. One had to know how long he had condensed his true deity heart. Even after comprehending the profound mysteries of the deity weapon, he had still managed to barely sense Donghua Shui Ying's presence. Amazing. Mountain Lord, he praised. He then continued, "Quickly tell me, what exactly happened? What's the fleshly body of the great demon god's avatar? Save Puyangbo first. I'll explain it to you later," Palace Lord Chen said. "The seals on Puyangbo's body have all been removed. Right now, I'm healing the injuries on his soul. It won't be long before he becomes lively again. You must believe in the regenerative abilities of a transcendent." Mountain Lord, he hastily said, "Hurry up and tell me." "All right, it's like this." Only then did Palace Lord Chen reveal the many things that only he and Donghua Shui Ying knew. Only then did Mountain Lord he understand that Donghua Shui Ying had done a great deed. Chapter 257. Within the demonic faction headquarters. The fog that had been shrouding High Priest Shi Yun's body for a long time had already dissipated. Since he was already exposed, was there still a need to hide? At this moment, Shi Yun's entire body was covered in scales. 2 sharp horns grew out of his head, and dark magic surged around him. Great demon god, Shi Yun was incomparably respectful. Near the Devil's Well, there was a huge skull sculpture on the wall of the hall. The skull sculpture spoke with anger. "High Priest, the 3rd priest has failed. The physical body that I need to descend has already been taken by the Xia people. The outside world has also been sealed by the deity world's Ding Jiu battleship. The demigods of the Xia people have all arrived. The demonic faction headquarters is doomed to fall, and you won't be able to escape. At this time, what I need you to do is take revenge at all costs. Through the treasures of the headquarters, kill any transcendence of the Xia people you can. As for you, after you die, I will guide your soul into the dark abyss. I will reconstruct your physical body and allow you to continue living in the dark abyss." "Yes," Shi Yun respectfully replied. A few powerful gods or demonic gods were able to guide the souls of transcendence away. The Temporal Temple was one such example. Even if those reincarnators died in battle, as long as their souls were not destroyed, the Temporal Temple would guide them away for the hell-level mission punishment. Thus, transcendents who worshipped powerful existences were usually very loyal. After all, it was very difficult to destroy the soul of a transcendent under the protection of a powerful deity. "Take revenge. Take revenge. Kill as many as you can," the skull sculpture roared. Just as it finished speaking, a hand suddenly reached out from the void. With a wave of that hand, 6 streams of light appeared out of thin air in the hall where the demonic well was. Each of the 6 streams of light had a mighty aura. There was an ancient tree guard that instantly transformed into a huge monster, waving its huge branches and leaves. There was an extremely cold man with 2 divine swords on his back. There was an extremely domineering black gold man, and there was a strange 8-clawed creature that bared its fangs and brandished its claws. There were 6 of them. Every single one of them was a deity warrior that had reached the limits of the mortal world. Their attacks could either be ranked in the top 3 of the demigod rankings, or they specialized in restraining their enemies, or they specialized in domains. In short, none of them could be killed or destroyed. Their strength was also very strong. With 6 of them appearing at the same time, even people at the level of Mountain Lord He and the Grand Elder Palace Head would die. Only the 3rd priest, who was said to be the best in the world in terms of survivability, had a perfected demonic body and a divine armor. This! Shi Yun was stunned. Bam! The ancient tree guardian first lashed out with its huge branches, sending Shi Yun flying and crashing into the wall next to him. Then, the 6 ancient tree guardians surrounded him. Damn it, it's him again. Dong Shuang. The head statue on the wall of the palace roared with a ferocious expression. Pum! The black gold man stomped on the skull statue. Rumble, 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 the entire palace wall collapsed, and the skull statue naturally shattered. Within the mirage, Dongbua Shuang silently watched as Shi Yun was surrounded and beaten to death. Not even a breath's worth of time passed before the body of the demonic faction's high priest collapsed. It took another 10 breaths worth of time before the high priest's demonic body was completely destroyed. This generation's high priest of the demonic faction had died. This was also the reason why Dongbua Shuang had asked for the other 4 deity warriors. With just 2 of them, he did not have 100% confidence in killing the high priest. Only with 6 of them could he truly sweep through. Another hand reached into the real world, and the 6 divinity warriors were all retrieved, along with the treasures left behind by the high priestess. Divine weapon? Shuang easily refined the storage ring of the high priest. He also discovered a deity weapon within the storage ring. It was a deity weapon that looked like a lamp. This deity weapon was stirring as if it wanted to fly away. It's a pity that this divine weapon can't be used. Dongbua Shuang inwardly shook his head. Just like the Xia people's divine weapon, the Xia people's transcendence could only use it temporarily. This divine weapon of the demonic faction was also under the control of the great demon god. However, it was currently in a storage treasure and could not escape. Although the Xia people's transcendence could temporarily suppress it, they could not use it. Continue. Dongbua Shuang brought the 6 deity warriors and walked through the mirage. When they arrived at a key location, he would release the 6 deity warriors for them to destroy. Everything that could be destroyed would be destroyed. The high priest was in charge of the entire demonic faction headquarters, while the deity warrior, the white-robed girl, assisted him. Without the high priest, Shuang wantonly destroyed many places. The arrays left behind by the demigods and deities of the demonic faction in the past were all destroyed from the inside, destroying the core and key regions. However, there were still some arrays that had existed since the very beginning of the construction of the underground fortress. They were engraved on the outermost layer of the fortress and could not be destroyed. The white-robed girl was the one who was controlling the initial formation. Time to go. Dongbua Shuang spent half an hour before returning to Ding Jiu's warship with the 6 deity warriors. Inside Ding Jiu's warship, only Palace Lord Chun and Mountain Lord He were present. As for the other Xia people's demigods, they were working together with Ding Jiu's warship to attack the demonic faction headquarters. Moreover, the Temple of the Earth God had also sent experts and treasures over. It could be said that they were doing their best. Wang, Mountain Lord, he was using all his strength to control Ding Jiu's warship. As a powerful transcendent mage, he was most proficient in controlling Ding Jiu's warship. Many of the arrays could even be activated with his own magic power, allowing him to display an extremely high level of power. After all, this was a standard warship of the deity world. Originally, it was meant for deities to control. Many of the arrays were too complicated, and Palace Lord Chun could only display the most basic of power. The Snow Eagle is here. Palace Lord Chun revealed a happy expression as he looked at Dongbua Shuang. Shi Yun is already dead. However, his soul might have been led into the dark abyss by the great demon god, Dongbua Shuang said. There's no need to care about him. He will never be able to return to the dark abyss. Moreover, he isn't even a deity in a place like the dark abyss. His days there won't be easy. Palace Lord Chun said. Dongbua Shuang nodded and said, I didn't bring back many treasures from the demonic faction. The great demon god knew that he couldn't defend it, so he destroyed everything that could be destroyed. I brought back those that couldn't be destroyed. As for how to divide them, let's wait until I send Puyang back. There's no need to worry about the treasures of the demonic faction. Palace Lord Chun didn't seem to care. Was it because of a deity weapon? There was no need. Deity grade secret technique? That was a deity grade dark magic technique. Those who cultivated magic power and battle chi couldn't use it. Everything that could be destroyed had been destroyed. As for those that couldn't be destroyed, there should still be some good treasures. However, Palace Lord Chun didn't care. He even felt that Dongbua Shui Ying's contribution this time was too great. He couldn't even count his contributions. "Where's Puyang?" Dongbua Shui Ying asked. "He's in the house next door. He keeps shouting that he wants to go back and see his woman. It's just that we can't leave." Palace Lord Chen smiled. "Snow Eagle, you've done everything you can. Leave the rest to us. You can go and send the pitiful Puyang Bo off." "Okay." Dongbua Shuiying walked to the house next door and opened the door. This Ding Jiu's worship was indeed mysterious. Even though there was only a door between them, he couldn't sense what was inside the house. It was indeed worthy of being a worship of the deity world. Inside the house, there was a bed. Puyang Bo was lying on it. At this moment, his face was rosy and his skin was moist. One wouldn't be able to tell that he was just a bag of bones. The recovery ability of a transcendent was truly astonishing. However, deep fatigue could be seen in his eyes. It was obvious that the terrifying 6 years of punishment had made him extremely tired. Puyang Bo could only rely on himself to recover from the damage to his soul. "Puyang, what are you doing?" Dongbua Shuiying smiled as he walked in. "I'm chatting with Shidong." Puyang Bo immediately stood up. "I can't leave now. I can only chat with Shidong through the communication wristband. This is the new wristband that Palace Lord Chun gave me. And, Dongbua, I really have to thank you this time. If not for you, I would have fallen into oblivion forever. Speaking of which, I'm the one who has let you down. You don't have to thank me." Dongbua Shuiying felt even more awkward when he heard Puyang thanking him. Palace Head Chun and the others have already told me that a true transcendent of the Xia clan would make such a choice. Puyang Bo grinned, his mouth wide open. "Let's go. I'll send you back," Dongbua Shuiying said. Puyang Bo could see the fatigue on his face. However, he was still filled with anticipation. In a large-scale transcendent world, oceanic forest world, the third priest, who was dressed in dark red armor, arrived. Boom, boom. 2 powerful auras appeared in midair. One was a huge, illusory head, while the other was the illusory figure of a golden-robed man. These 2 illusory figures faced each other from afar. Their auras were vast and mysterious. "Great demon god, you have really disappointed me." The golden-robed, illusory figure sneered. "Back then, we made a plan and signed an oath. But now, you actually told me that the fleshly body of the great demon god's doppelganger that you were about to descend was destroyed by the Xia people." "Sorcerer god," the huge illusory head said in a low voice, "remember your seniority." "Seniority? Yes, you are stronger than me. But it is precisely because you are strong enough that I chose you to be my collaborator. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the qualifications to participate in this. Your greatest use is the doppelganger that you are about to descend. Your realm is much higher than mine. Your doppelganger is also the most important part of the plan. But now, it's gone. You can't descend your doppelganger anymore. What use do you have?" The golden-robed, illusory figure said coldly. The sorcerer god was furious as well. The mighty great demon god had actually made a fatal mistake at such a crucial moment. "You," the huge, illusory head had a savage look on its face. "You dare to speak to me like that? You, a mere great demon god of the abyss, want to threaten a deity of the deity realm?" The golden-robed, illusory figure laughed coldly. "And as a leader, do you think I would be afraid of you? Dare how? I have always respected you, but you have truly disappointed me, because you're unable to fulfill your promise. The oath we made back then is for naught. Naturally, there is no need to carry it out anymore. You no longer have the qualifications to participate in the plan that I made." Chapter 258. The great demon god was inwardly furious. The sorcerer god was only a mid-level character in an ordinary empire, yet he dared to act so arrogantly in front of him. In terms of strength, the sorcerer god was only comparable to the great demon god from 30 million years ago. The difference in strength between the two was huge, but there was nothing he could do about it. After all, the sorcerer god held the initiative. The great demon god was chosen by the sorcerer god because the great demon god was deeply rooted in the world of the Xia people. Sorcerer god. The giant skull phantom said in a low voice, "Yes, the fleshly body I needed to descend was destroyed, but do you know how it was destroyed? How?" The golden-robed phantom was stunned. "My demonic faction headquarters has not been exposed for a long time. It was attacked today. Even the fleshly body I needed to descend was destroyed." "Why?" The giant skull phantom said coldly. "Because the strength of the Xia people is much stronger than you think. If you don't know the reason for my failure, it won't be long before your beast clan suffers the same fate. The plan has yet to begin. Failure doesn't mean anything," the golden-robed phantom said coldly. "Even if the plan begins, you will still fail." The giant skull phantom said confidently, "I suffered a huge loss, so I realize that the Xia people have an extremely terrifying aspect, and it will also be the aspect where you will fail." "What exactly is it?" The golden-robed phantom frowned. "We need to sign a new oath." The giant skull phantom said, "I will tell you everything." The failure this time was because of that Dongbua Shuang. However, this secret had not been made public yet, so only the Palace Lord Chun and Mountain Lord knew about it. Naturally, the Beast Clan did not know about it. The great demon god was purposely trying to scare the sorcerer god. "You don't have a clone of the great demon god, so why are you involved?" The golden-robed phantom coldly said, "Just because you know a secret of the Xia people." "No, I paid a huge price to nurture a clone. However, I am willing to nurture another clone," the giant skull said in a low voice. It had already suffered heavy losses. If it couldn't participate in this plan and enjoy the fruits of its labor, then the previous losses would have been in vain. It would rather pay another price to succeed. After all, if the plan succeeded, it would be a huge profit. Nurture it again? The golden-robed, illusory figure was stunned. "But there's not enough time. That's why I need to delay the plan by 50 years. This is also why I asked you to sign a new oath," the giant skull said. "As long as you sign the oath, I will naturally tell you everything." In midair, the golden-robed silhouette and the gigantic skull silhouette faced each other from afar, but there was a long period of silence. "All right, then let's postpone it for 50 years. The golden-robed phantom nodded. Their lifespans were long, so a delay of 50 years was not unacceptable. "Then let's sign a new oath." Only then did the giant skull phantom reveal a joyful expression. "All right, very soon." A faint golden piece of paper appeared in midair, and there were many special words on it. Behind the golden paper, there was a faint shadow. It was the shadow of a strange island. Soon, 2 names appeared at the bottom of the paper. The names were also written in a special language. The oath was completed. The golden-robed phantom immediately said, "Speak. What secrets do the Xia people have? What is the reason for your failure?" "Because of one person," the giant skull said, "Dongbua Shuang." "Him?" The golden-robed phantom was stunned. At this moment, he felt as though he had been deceived. Just because of a transcendent from the Xia people? Don't look down on him. If you do, you will definitely fail because of him. Oh, in addition to grasping the true meaning of extreme piercing, he also grasped another true meaning. This is a very special true meaning that allows him to hide in another world. From that world, he can investigate the real world. That's why he was able to find the 5 demon generals, as well as the demonic faction headquarters. Even my fleshly body was pulled into another world by him. Just now, I sensed that my fleshly body had been destroyed. Such a strange, true meaning? The sorcerer god was secretly shocked. I suspect that it's the true meaning of mirage or the true meaning of shadow. The great demon god deduced. You have to know that Dongbua Shuang has only cultivated for less than 100 years, yet he is already so terrifying. According to your original plan, Dongbua Shuang will be even stronger than he is now. He can penetrate through any openings, and if you're not prepared, he can completely destroy your plan. Now that we have made preparations, the sorcerer god said, but now that we know how powerful he is, we have to eliminate him. The true meaning of mirage was truly strange and unpredictable. Not only was it traceless, it was also the ultimate form of illusion techniques. Although the true meaning of shadow did not have any illusions, it was more vicious and ruthless. As for Dongbua Shui Ying's true meaning of mirage, although its offensive power was weak, it had an extreme offensive true meaning, extreme piercing. The true meaning of mirage and extreme piercing complemented each other, forming a terrifying combination. Yes, eliminate him, the great demon god said. The earlier we eliminate him, the better. What kind of status did the sorcerer god and the great demon god have? Both of them knew of Dongbua Shui Ying's strength and methods. Dealing with a single transcendent was too easy for them. If Dongbua Shui Ying had cultivated his true meaning to stage 3 and condensed his true deity heart, it might have been troublesome. But now, the sorcerer god and the great demon god quickly decided on a plan to eliminate Dongbua Shui Ying. In just 6 hours, they had gathered all the required treasures. The reason why it took 6 hours was because there was a special treasure that needed to be sent through the temporal temple. Very soon, a reincarnator from the temporal temple personally delivered it to the oceanic forest world. Everything was ready. Now they just had to wait. Find Dongbua Shui Ying, then kill him. Bright Sand Province, Barbarian Wind County City. In a secluded mansion, a group of transcendents was having a joyous gathering. Come, let's do it. Pu Yang, you brat. After surviving a great calamity, you are bound to have good fortune in the future. Right. I dare say that it won't be long before Sister Shi Dong gives birth to a baby for you. Hee. Thank you, Brother Yufeng. I can't wait to hug my baby. Yufeng, Zhang Peng, Pu Yang Bo, Dongbua Shui Ying, and Yuan Qing were currently drinking and chatting. Jing Xiu was accompanying Shidong. They had a good relationship and knew that Pu Yangbo had suffered a lot in the past 6 years. Thus, his good brothers came to accompany him, allowing him to release his emotions as much as he wanted. I heard that the attack on the demonic faction headquarters is about to end. I really can't believe that Sidu Hong, that bastard, would actually rely on the demonic faction and scheme against his own junior brother. Yufeng was so angry that his teeth itched. I really want to use all the punishments of the demonic faction on Sidu Hong and let him have a good taste of it. There's nothing to be angry about. Now that he has been captured, the Xia people will not let him off so easily. Pu Yangbo casually said, "Don't mention such a disgusting person. He's ruining the good mood of us brothers." AI, Yuan Qing, why are you always so taciturn? Yuan Qing smiled, still very bashful. So shy, just like a girl. I really don't know how you managed to cultivate to become a transcendent. Zhang Peng laughed from aside. I'm just cultivating slowly, Yuan Qing said. Dongbua Shui Ying was casually drinking and chatting with his brothers. At the same time, his mood was quite relaxed. Currently, the situation was progressing well. The physical body of the great demon god's avatar had long been destroyed by the deity world warrior. It was also because Palace Lord Chun and the others were worried that something unexpected would happen, so they sent the indestructible deity world warrior to deal with it. In reality, destroying it was quite easy. One must know that even a true god avatar that descended would be suppressed to the peak of the demigod realm by the will of the world. Now that the soul of the great demon god had yet to descend, how much resistance could a mere physical body have? While attacking the demonic faction headquarters, several demigod chi avatars, magic energy avatars, quickly moved to capture the exposed transcendents. This was because they were fast enough. As for the transcendents of the demonic faction, they still thought that they had not been exposed. Thus, the 8 transcendents discovered by Dongbua Shui Ying, including Sido Hong, were all captured. As for the demonic faction headquarters, there was no demigod presiding over it. Only the original array remained. It was said that the attack had already entered the demonic faction headquarters and was nearing its end. This huge storm is finally coming to an end. Dongbua Shui Ying revealed a smile. Shui Ying frowned and turned to look at the distant sky. Because he was currently engaged in a battle with a demonic faction, he had been faintly perceiving the mirage and had never relaxed his vigilance. This allowed him to immediately sense a powerful aura piercing through space and rapidly approaching from 250 kilometers away. Chapter 259. Dongbua Shuang, who was sitting at the side with a wine glass in his hand, suddenly disappeared into thin air. With 2 consecutive teleportations, he appeared in midair outside of Razorwind County City. The identity of the intruder was unknown. If it was an enemy, Dongbua Shuang would definitely not allow such a powerful aura to approach. There were tens of millions of mortals in the county city, and his good friends and Jing Xiao were in the residence. Standing in midair, the black-robed Dongbua Shuang furrowed his brows as he stared coldly ahead. With a wave of his hand, a strand of fiery red battle chi, imbued with the true meaning of extreme, piercing shot towards the powerful aura that was already tens of li away from him. Sila, the fiery red battle chi forcefully tore apart the space, forcing the intruder out. Dongbua Shuang did not know who the intruder was, so he held back. The main purpose of his battle chi was to tear apart space and force the intruder out. Ha! An evil laughter reverberated in the surroundings. At the same time, 3 figures appeared. There was a black-robed, white-haired old man holding a white-boned staff, a tall and skinny man wearing green leather armor, and a purple-haired woman laughing evilly. Wong. The black-robed, white-haired old man smiled at Dongbua Shuang, and a formless ripple instantly enveloped an area of 200 li. More accurately, with a black-robed old man as the center, a huge spherical space 100 li away from him. Such a huge area was completely isolated by the ripple. Puyangbo, Yufeng, Zhang Peng, Yuan Qing, and Shi Dong and Jing Xiao, who were originally drinking and chatting with Dongbua Shuang, were all transcendents. When they noticed that Dongbua Shuang had teleported away, they could not help but look outside. With their extraordinary eyesight, they immediately saw the black-robed Dongbua Shuang floating in midair outside the city. What happened to Dongbua? Why did he suddenly leave? Zhang Peng and the rest were puzzled. Their cultivation bases were not high enough, and they were unable to sense an expert who was teleporting hundreds of li away. Something is not right. Senior brother Snow Eagle, Jing Xiao, stood up. All of them were puzzled and even slightly uneasy. In the air, Dongbua Shuang waved his hand and shot out a strand of transcendent Do Chi, instantly tearing apart the space tens of miles away, and 3 figures appeared. Elder Ao Lan, Monarch Qin Yin, Jing Xiao, Puyangbo, and Yufeng's expressions changed drastically. Grand Elder Ao Lan, ranked 3rd on the demigod list, the highest leader of the Sorcerer Goddess Shrine. The Green Nightmare Monarch was ranked 4th on the demigod ranking, a king of deep-sea magical beasts. On the surface, these 2 were the 2 most powerful beings in the magical beast clan. Even though they didn't recognize the purple-haired woman, the fact that she was able to appear with Elder Ao Lan and Monarch Qin Yin meant that she was no ordinary woman. How could Jing Xiao and the rest not be shocked when these 3 super experts appeared outside Razorwind City at the same time? Don't feel frightened and uneasy? Palace Lord Chun. Palace Lord Chun. There are experts from the Magical Beast Clan. It's Elder Ao Lan, Monarch Qin Yin, and an unknown purple-haired woman. They seem to be here to deal with Junior Snow Eagle. All of them anxiously transmitted the message. Jing Xiao was so anxious that her face turned pale. Puyangbo couldn't help but crush the cup in his hand. He had just returned alive from hell, and he didn't want to see his good brother, the one who saved him from hell, in any trouble. But no matter how anxious they were, they could only watch, because existences of this level were not something they could get involved in. And Dongbua Shuang's expression changed. Although he was shocked to see Elder Ao Lan and Monarch Qin Yin, he was still able to maintain his calm. But when he saw that the space within 100 miles was completely isolated from the outside world, Dongbua Shuang realized that something was wrong. He sensed a mirage. Originally, the Mirage's detection range was 500 miles away from him, but now he could only sense the isolated area of 200 miles. As for the area beyond 200 miles, he couldn't sense it at all. A powerful force had completely isolated him from the outside world. Who? Dongbua Shui Ying's figure distorted, and he instantly disappeared. Walking in the mirage, Dongbua Shui tried to fly out of the isolated area, but the invisible barrier made it impossible for Dongbua Shui Ying to pass through. He teleported to the other side of the 200 miles and tried to rush out. He even used the stellar fire cloud spear, stabbing out with all his might with the profound mysteries of extreme piercing. The unseen barrier was incomparably tough, easily withstanding the strike of Shui Ying's spear. It's isolated? It's sealed? Dongbua Shui Ying looked outside. Elder Ao Lan and the others outside the mirage were very calm. Elder Ao Lan even instructed, Monarch Qingyan, Empress, you two stay here and watch. I'll set up the array. It won't be long before the demigods of the Xia people arrive. Go. The purple-haired lady waved her hand casually. Elder Ao Lan did not mind. He easily passed through the barrier, as if there was no obstruction at all. Then, Elder Ao Lan began to set up the array around him. One by one, he threw out the array tools that he had prepared beforehand. Instantly, a huge array began to form. Rumble, the color of the sky changed, and lightning surged. As the array was set up, the shockwaves even reached Razorwind Prefectural City. Boom! Lightning and flames struck Razorwind Prefectural City. The city walls began to crumble, and some mortals were instantly turned into dust. The remaining mortals screamed in fear as they tried to escape. They looked at the huge object outside the city in fear. The array, which was larger than the entire city, continued to expand. Looking at it with the naked eye, it was mainly lightning and flames. The color of the sky changed. Black clouds gathered above, and countless lightning bolts gathered. You guys are very confident. Dongbua Shui Ying walked out of the mirage and stood in the real world. He looked at the people in front of him. The moment he encountered the enemy, he had already sent a message to Palace Lord Chun and the others. Now, he had to try his best to stall for time. When the time came, the more demigods the Xia people had, the better. Of course I'm confident. The purple-haired lady smiled evilly. Just now, Elder Ao Lan addressed you as the Empress. Although I, Dongbua Shui Ying, am well informed, I have never heard of a demigod like you in the Xia people's world. Dongbua Shui Ying said, I have never heard of anyone with the title of Empress. The purple-haired lady said proudly, You should be proud that you forced me to reveal my identity to deal with you. Guess, you should be able to guess it. As she spoke, she casually flicked her fingers. Her fingers were incomparably sharp, and her nails were extremely long, even longer than her entire finger. At the tip of her nails, there were even white threads. Each white thread was faintly made up of countless tiny threads tangled together. One look, and one could tell that they were incomparably tough. When Dongbua Shui Ying saw these white threads, his expression changed. You are the Spider Empress, the demonic beast clan. There were also some that were born extremely powerful, such as the giant dragons. The giant dragons were the most famous. There were all kinds of dragons. Apart from that, there were also some extremely rare beasts that were even more talented than the giant dragons. However, they were simply too rare. It was rare for such a terrifying beast to be born in tens of thousands of years. The Spider Empress was one of them. It was an extremely unique beast. She was the most terrifying Spider Clan demonic beast emperor. Once the Spider Empress successfully evolved, with her terrifying talent, she would be able to rank in the top 5 demigods. In terms of talent, even the deep-sea demonic beast king beside her could not compare. That king relied more on his own cultivation. As for the Spider Empress, she could rely on her talent to become so powerful. I truly did not expect that the demonic beast clan would have a Spider Empress in this era. Dongbua Shui Ying laughed coldly. Furthermore, she had been hiding it all this while. Dongbua Shui Ying, really have some face. I actually managed to get you, the Spider Empress, to personally make a move. Furthermore, the third and fourth ranked demigod Grand Elder Ao Lan and Monarch Qing Yin are working together. As he spoke, he was intentionally stalling for time. Right now, he only brought the gold man and the green armored protector. If he wanted to deal with the two in front of him, it would already be good if he could fight evenly. There was no hope of killing them. Thus, he would rather stall for time. Hee. The Spider Empress laughed delightedly. She did not seem to mind wasting time. This caused Dongbua Shuang to feel even more uneasy. His true meaning of extreme piercing had already been exposed when he attacked the evil demon lair previously. The true meaning of Mirage was actually able to counter it. This meant that they were prepared. Yet, they still allowed him to stall for time. Were they stupid? Which one of Grand Elder Ao Lan and the others wasn't a wily old fox? To be so calm and confident. It was likely that they had full confidence. Chapter 260. Elsewhere, on Ding Jiu's warship, a large group of demigods from the Xia people had gathered in the main hall of the warship. Everyone was celebrating this unprecedented victory. Who would have thought that the demigods of our generation would have the chance to destroy the demonic faction headquarters? I feel like I'm dreaming. Right. We were just celebrating our victory over the 5 demon generals when we immediately received news that we were attacking the demonic faction headquarters. Furthermore, everything went smoothly. Attacking the demonic faction headquarters was really easy. We actually managed to take it down so quickly. Speaking of which, it's strange. The interior of the demonic faction headquarters has already been destroyed. Many of the arrays were completely destroyed. That's right. Before we even entered, the inner formation had already been destroyed, said Yi Zichen. Who destroyed it? I feel that Palace Lord Chun is hiding many things from us. How did the 5 demon generals and the demonic faction headquarters get discovered? Who did this to the demonic faction headquarters being almost completely destroyed? Perhaps there are some secrets involved. The demigods of the Xia people were all discussing. Among the group of demigods, the happiest was Chao Qing. He was known as the Thunder God and had a very violent temperament. He was also incomparably excited about attacking the demonic faction headquarters. To be able to participate in such a huge battle before his death, he would die without regrets. Chao Qing was actually able to naturally condense a true deity heart under this extremely excited state of mind as he waved the staff around in a frenzy. He became the 3rd demigod of the Xia people to condense a true deity heart. His strength immediately soared to the point where he was even stronger than Si Kongyang. He probably had the qualifications to be ranked among the top 3 demigods. Brother Chao, congratulations. Brother Chao, congratulations. You actually managed to condense a true deity heart while nearing the end of your lifespan. Haha, I admire you. Brother Chao, who knows, you might even be able to open your deity C and become a true deity before the end of your lifespan. The bald and skinny old man, Chao Qing, chuckled. Today was truly an extremely joyous day. Killing the demon generals, breaking through the demonic faction headquarters, and condensing a true deity heart. How carefree was this? Elder Chao, Palace Lord Chun walked to Chao Qing's side with a glass of wine in his hand. Palace Lord Chun. Chao Qing nodded. Palace Lord Chun smiled and transmitted his voice. You've condensed the true deity's heart. You may have a chance to become a god. Don't make fun of me. Chao Qing sent a voice transmission. I know my own strength very well. Being able to condense a true deity heart is already not bad. Becoming a deity? There's no hope, and I'm getting closer and closer to the end of my lifespan. There is a place. If you enter it, you might be able to become a god, Palace Lord Chen transmitted. Oh, where is it? Chao Qing was surprised. You have already condensed your true deity heart, and you are nearing the end of your lifespan. Therefore, according to the rules of the Infernal Palace, I can only tell you. Palace Lord Chen transmitted his voice over. This place is called Crimson Rock Mountain. It's hard to explain it in a few sentences. When we return to the Infernal Palace, the two of us can slowly talk about it in private. Chao Qing nodded lightly. Crimson Rock Mountain? He would remember it. Palace Lord Shun suddenly walked to the front of the main hall and turned to look at all the demigods of the Xia people present. In a loud voice, he said, "Everyone!" His voice naturally resounded throughout the main hall. For a moment, all the demigods quietened down and looked at Palace Lord Shun. "This is a great victory." Palace Lord Chen's face faintly glowed, his eyes filled with excitement. A great victory that can be said to affect the entire history of the Xia people. Its importance is even greater than what you all think. Oh, for a moment, all the demigods of the Xia people were puzzled. Breaking through the demonic faction headquarters was something that had never happened before in the history of the Xia people. Of course it was important. Palace Lord Shun said, "It's even greater than what you think," which made them puzzled. Palace Lord Shun continued, "Why? It's because of this." As he spoke, Palace Lord Shun waved his hand, and a bronze coffin appeared beside him. Hua! The lid of the bronze coffin was directly lifted off by Do Qi. Immediately, the aura of a dark spell formation was set up within the coffin, causing all the demigods of the Xia people present to feel their hearts tighten. This is the most important item in the entire demonic faction headquarters. This bronze coffin originally contained a fleshly body, a body required by the great demon god to descend. Palace Lord Shen said, "What? Divine avatar? A fleshly body required by the great demon god to descend." This news instantly shocked all the demigods of the Xia people. Heavens, they all knew how terrifying a divine avatar was. That was in the distant past, when the demonic faction and the temple of the earth god were fighting over the faith of this mortal world. They had only sent out a divine avatar once. At other times, the divine avatar had never appeared. It must be known that even the powerful deities of the deity world and the dark abyss needed to consider whether the resources they invested were worth it. They needed to consider the input and the output. Logically speaking, it was not possible for another divine avatar to be born. There is no need to doubt. Another voice sounded. It was Mountain Lord He. This bronze coffin previously contained the fleshly body required by the great demon god to descend. I personally witnessed the destruction of that fleshly body. How could that be? Why would the great demon god do such a thing? An uproar broke out. The demigods did not dare to believe it. This is the plan of the sorcerer god and the great demon god. It is impossible for this plan to target the temple of the earth god, because the sorcerer god has no reason to go against them. According to our speculations, there is an 80 to 90% chance that it is targeting our Xia people. Palace Headchin said, "This god's avatar is the key. Once it is successfully nurtured, the great demonic god's avatar will successfully descend. A divine avatar will completely sweep away our Xia people. Because a divine avatar has the strength of a demigod, it will be able to slaughter its way into the infernal realm. It might even destroy the Xia capital of the infernal realm. Our Xia people might even perish from this." All the demigods of the Xia people shuddered. They were confident in the strength of the Xia people. After all, over 300 demigod demons in history were unable to shake the Xia capital. However, although there was only one divine avatar of the great demon god, it was more terrifying than 300 demigod demons. How terrifying was it? They did not know, because the Xia people had never fought against someone of this level. "Take a look," Palace Lord Shun said as he waved his hand. An image appeared in midair. The image showed a mysterious crimson-armored man carrying a huge bronze coffin in one hand and a blood-red scimitar in the other. "That's him, the demonic faction's strongest third priest." Palace Lord Shun said, "At the first moment of the attack, the demonic faction's third priest tried his best to escape with the bronze coffin. I controlled the Ding Jiu battleship to stop him, but the third priest also brought along a life-saving treasure. At the same time, he also tried his best to escape." On the image, suddenly, the huge ball of lightning rapidly shrank and exploded. The mysterious crimson-armored man, the bronze coffin, and the blood-red scimitar were all sent flying. An illusion of the head of the great demon god appeared on the armor. The great demon god's head was clearly roaring. The mysterious crimson-armored man quickly woke up and immediately flew towards the bronze coffin, wanting to snatch it. At this moment, a hand reached out from the void, grabbed the bronze coffin, and dragged it into the void. The illusion of the great demon god's head roared. The mysterious crimson-armored man was completely stunned, not knowing what to do. Attacking from the void? Who is it? The demigods of the Xia people vaguely guessed what was going on. Previously, they were puzzled. How could the demonic faction headquarters, which had just been breached, be completely destroyed from the inside? Now that they saw the hand that reached out from the void, they naturally understood. This matter should have been kept secret. It was only for the sake of breaching the demonic faction headquarters. In order to destroy the fleshly body of the great demon god's avatar. In the end, his identity was still exposed. Palace Lord Chan said, "Since even the enemy knows of his identity, there is no need for me to hide it. Weren't you all asking, how did we discover the demon general? You all asked me just now, how did we discover the demonic faction headquarters? How did the interior of the demonic faction headquarters get destroyed? Also, who was the one who snatched the avatar of the great demon god?" Palace Lord Chen nodded. He was Dongbua Shuang. The demigods of the Xia people, who had long perked up their ears, were all dumbfounded. The person who had made such a huge contribution was Dongbua Shuang, a saint transcendent. This was too inconceivable. Dongbua Shuang's talent is extremely high. He grasped hold of the true piercing technique and another grade 2 true meaning. You all saw it for yourself. He could enter the void, causing that mysterious person to be helpless against him. Relying on this true meaning, he roamed the entire Xia people's world and found the 5 demon generals. He also discovered the demonic faction headquarters and the avatar of the great demon god. Only then did he begin his follow-up actions. Palace Lord Chan said, "His talent is truly high. He is the most talented transcendent in the history of the Xia people. I originally wanted to protect him and try my best to conceal this information. However, now that the matter of destroying the fleshly body of the great demon god's avatar has been exposed, I decided to tell everyone about it. In truth, a person who has made such a huge contribution to the Xia people should not be hiding his contributions." Everything became clear. The doubts in the hearts of the demigods of the Xia people had been completely resolved. It was no wonder that Dongbua Shuang could find the 5 demon generals and the demonic faction headquarters just 6 years after he grasped hold of a grade 2 true meaning and dealt with the demon's nest. No wonder he could enter the void. 2 grade 2 true meanings? How long had he been cultivating? Towards this young saint transcendent, the demigods of the Xia people could not even feel a shred of jealousy. When the gap between them was small, they might even feel jealous. But this kind of absolute talent could be said to be the most outstanding transcendent in the history of the Xia people. Instead, they felt proud and expectant. With such a peerless character in their Xia people, what would happen after a few hundred years? Palace Lord Chun, I've discovered the beast race's elder Ao Lan, Monarch Qing Yan, and a purple-haired girl. Their target is me, and they've already sealed off the surrounding world. I can't escape. Dongbua Shuiying's transmission came quickly, along with a map. Following that, Jing Xiao, Puyang Bo, Yufeng, Yuan Qing, Zhang Peng, and Shidong all sent messages. Palace Lord Qin's expression changed. His eyes turned red as he let out a furious roar. Dongbua Shuiying is being ambushed and assassinated by the beast race. Set off immediately. We must save Dongbua Shuiying. Ambushed and assassinated? Quick, let's set off immediately. We must save him. All the demigods of the Xia people were anxious. Hong Long Long, Ding Jiu's battleship immediately moved. The enormous battleship tore through space and rushed out of Razorwind City. Chapter 261. Dongbua Shuiying exchanged a few words with the Spider Queen and the Green Nightmare Monarch to buy some time. Soon, a breath time had passed. It's here. With a glance, Shuiying could see that in midair 150 kilometers away from Razorwind City, space had been torn apart abruptly. An enormous black battleship flew over from within. On the body of the black battleship, there were two unique characters representing the meaning of D9. A furious roar resounded in the world. Aolon, does your beast clan want to be exterminated? It's been so many years. You humans have always wanted to exterminate my beast clan, haven't you? Unfortunately, you humans don't have the strength to do so. Elder Aolon sneered. He seemed to have made meticulous preparations. By the time Ding Zhou's warship tore through space and arrived, he had already finished setting up the final spirit design. Hua! Elder Aolon suddenly split into two. Another doppelganger formed beside him. It was his dermic doppelganger. Xia people, today you can just watch as the most amazing genius transcendent in the history of your Xia clan dies in front of you. Elder Aolon laughed heartily as he took a step forward and entered the 100-kilometer area isolated by the seal. His dermic doppelganger remained outside, controlling and maintaining the huge spirit design. The layers of spirit designs were set up by the sorcerer god and the great demon god. They were extraordinary and unpredictable. Clearly, the sorcerer god and the great demon god did not expect to kill Dongbua Shui Ying within a breath's time. Therefore, they would rather set up more spirit designs. This time, they had made ample preparations to kill Dongbua Shui Ying. Attack! The palace lord Qin's roar shook the heavens and earth. The bow of Ding Zhou's warship shot out a greenish-white pillar of lightning, which instantly darkened the sky. It became the most dazzling thing in the world and directly struck the mighty thunder and fire spirit design. The layers of spirit designs merged together as if they were one. The dark clouds in the sky spun, and the lightning kept accumulating. After this terrifying lightning pillar struck down, more than half of its power collapsed, and a small portion of the lightning power was actually guided by the thunder fire spell formation to the black clouds in the sky, causing more and more lightning to accumulate in the black clouds. Within the 200-mile spherical space that isolated the world, only Elder Aolon, Monarch Qingyin, Spider Queen, and Dongbua Shui Ying were here. Dongbua Shui Ying, in order to deal with you, the great sorcerer god has specially given me a treasure that can seal off the world. Elder Aolon sneered. Now that this place is completely isolated from the outside world, our space is like a small, independent world. Apart from that, the great sorcerer god has paid a great price. Today, you will die without a doubt. Is that so? Dongbua Shui Ying continued to speak, trying to stall for time. Do it, Elder Aolon said coldly. The purple-haired woman instantly transformed into a giant spider the size of a commoner's house. The spider's entire body was black, but its 8 slender legs were purple. At this moment, the giant spider's eyes were staring coldly at Dongbua Shui Ying. Following that, a large number of silk threads shot out from its tail. There were a total of 16 white silk threads, each about the thickness of a finger. They were formed by tens of thousands of smaller silk threads that intertwined with each other in accordance with the profound mysteries of nature. The 16 silk threads instantly streaked across the sky, spanning over 10 miles, and enveloped Dongbua Shui Ying. This caused Dongbua Shui Ying's expression to change slightly. He definitely could not let himself be entangled by the Spider Queen's silk threads, or he would not be able to escape. Hua! Dongbua Shui Ying's figure distorted and instantly disappeared. He entered the mirage, and the white silk threads were unable to entangle him. Although he could only move within the 200-mile radius of the mirage, it was enough. Among the 3 of them, only Elder Aolon is a transcendent sorcerer. I have to kill him first. Dongbua Shui Ying immediately wanted to teleport within the mirage to Elder Aolon's side. However, as Elder Aolon shouted, a strange longsword appeared in front of him. This was a black longsword. The hilt of the sword seemed to be coiled by a venomous snake, and the body of the sword was nearly 1.5 meters long. There were faint spots of blood on the body of the sword, causing the entire longsword to emit faint cries. In Elder Ao Lan's left hand, a scroll emitting boundless black gas appeared. He instantly tore the scroll, and the black gas from the scroll directly flowed into the strange longsword. The strange longsword immediately emitted an incomparably terrifying pressure. The pressure instantly enveloped the 200-mile radius of the sealed world, and even the mirage was penetrated. At this moment, the entire small world faintly trembled, and even the space within it froze. Not only the real world, but even the space within the mirage was frozen, causing Dongbua Shuang, who was attempting to teleport, to be unable to do so. Dongbua Shuang's expression changed greatly. Dongbua Shuang, this is the great Sorcerer God sword. It has followed the Sorcerer God for so many years. You should be proud to die under the Sorcerer God sword. Elder Ao Lan's voice reverberated within the sealed world. Dongbua Shuang's heart skipped a beat. The pressure of the Sorcerer God sword was too terrifying. This was the most terrifying deity equipment he had ever seen, far surpassing those he had seen before. Perhaps even the strongest deity equipment of the Xia people, Senior Snow, might not be able to match up to this Sorcerer God sword. Moreover, Elder Ao Lan seemed to have crushed a mysterious scroll to strengthen the Sorcerer God sword. This Sorcerer God sword has yet to be unsheathed, but it has already frozen the real world and even the mirage. Dongbua Shuang trembled in fear. Some powerful deities were able to attack the mirage, and this Sorcerer God sword had already begun to display some of the deity's abilities. Dongbua Shuang immediately flew at high speed within the mirage. As he neared Elder Ao Lan, he immediately waved his hand and sent out two streams of light, which directly entered the real world. They were the Gold Man and the Green-Armored Protector. Kill Elder Ao Lan. Dongbua Shuang understood that the most dangerous person was Elder Ao Lan. Without him, he might not even be able to control the Sorcerer God sword. One must know that a terrifying deity equipment like this had extremely high requirements for its wielder. Just like Senior Snow, only Jing Xiao could use it when she became a demigod. Monarch Green Nightmare, who was standing beside Elder Ao Lan, coldly snorted. He held his shield with one hand and suddenly pushed it forward. Boom! The surrounding space was pushed forward like a wave. It was as if the surrounding space was being pushed forward, pressing down on the Gold Man and the Green-Armored Protector. Monarch Green Nightmare, ranked 4th on the demigod list, was also in existence who had condensed a true deity heart. His close combat ability was extremely terrifying. His main task today was to protect Elder Ao Lan. Chi, densely packed white threads immediately enveloped the surroundings, including Elder Ao Lan's. A stream of light flew out from Elder Ao Lan's wrist and transformed into a cold, black-robed woman who stood beside him. She was also a deity warrior. Seeing this, Dongbua Shuang's heart turned cold. The Spider Queen, Monarch Green Nightmare, and a deity warrior were protecting Elder Ao Lan at the same time. One must know that Elder Ao Lan cultivated the true meaning of life and had long since attained an immortal body. It was already very difficult to kill him. Yet, he still had 3 experts protecting him. Dongbua Shuang, the Sorcerer God Saber, can attack any world. It doesn't matter if you hide in the shadows or the mirage. You won't be able to escape the Sorcerer God Saber. Die. Elder Ao Lan controlled the Sorcerer God Saber. With a terrifying pressure, the Sorcerer God Saber suppressed both the real world and the mirage. The Sorcerer God Saber even flew directly into the mirage. Elder Ao Lan also closed his eyes. He was still unable to rely on his own cultivation to enter the mirage. At this moment, his consciousness was placed on the Sorcerer God Saber. With the help of the Sorcerer God Saber, he could faintly sense that mysterious world. Although Elder Ao Lan didn't know that this was the mirage, it didn't stop him from attacking. With the help of the Sorcerer God Saber, he could sense that there was an aura of life within that mysterious world. That was the aura of life belonging to Dongbua Shuiying. What kind of world is that? My power has to pass through the sorcerer god saber in order to attack the life within that world. In that world, it will be much more difficult for me to control the sorcerer god saber. I'm afraid that I can only unleash 60% of the sorcerer god saber's power. Fortunately, this was within the expectations of the sorcerer god and the great demon god. This Dongbua Shuiying is too terrifying. How old is he? If he reaches a higher cultivation realm in the future, there's almost no hope of killing him. Elder Ao Lan's killing intent intensified. Dying. He controlled the sorcerer god saber and charged forward. Dongbua Shuiying's expression changed greatly. When a mysterious sorcerer god saber directly entered the mirage, his expression changed. He already knew that some of the more powerful demigods might be able to attack the mirage. However, when the sorcerer god saber directly entered, he still felt pressured. Rumble, the sorcerer god saber, came crashing down. The space within the mirage was completely frozen. As it approached, an invisible force began to bind and suppress him, greatly reducing his flying speed. On the other hand, the sorcerer god saber's surface was speckled with spots of blood and faint wails. This caused Dongbua Shuiying's heart to palpitate. He even had a feeling that if he were to be touched by the sorcerer god saber, the result would be unbearable. Chapter 262. Dongbua Shuiying's figure distorted, and he instantly entered the real world from the mirage realm. At this moment, the greenish-gray fog rushed towards Dongbua Shuiying, and Dongbua Shuiying took the initiative to meet it. In an instant, the greenish-gray fog completely enveloped Dongbua Shuiying's body, forming a thick layer of greenish-gray armor on his body. This layer of greenish-gray armor protected every part of Dongbua Shuiying's body. Even his eyes turned green. The greenish-gray armor guard was famous for its ability to protect others. It could gather and scatter like the fog, and it could also transform into a layer of armor. That was why Palace Lord Shun had sent it to protect Dongbua Shuiying. The sorcerer god saber entered the real world from the mirage realm and continued its pursuit. The distance between it and Dongbua Shuiying rapidly shortened. As the distance shortened, the suppressive force became stronger, causing Dongbua Shuiying to feel extremely uncomfortable. Gold Demon, block it! Dongbua Shuiying ordered, and his figure distorted as he escaped into the mirage realm. Yes, the gold man was incomparably valiant, and he faced the sorcerer god saber head-on. The sorcerer god saber was as fast as lightning. Pong! In a single exchange, the gold man was struck in the chest, and he was sent flying. The difference between the two was simply too great. Although the gold man's offensive strength could be ranked in the top 3 of the demigods, the terrifying sorcerer god saber that Elder Ao Lan controlled could unleash strength comparable to that of a true deity, especially when Elder Ao Lan had crushed a precious scroll, strengthening the power of the scroll, causing the sorcerer god saber to become even more terrifying. The real world, the mirage realm, even the space around them froze. The formless energy could even directly suppress and bind the target. The gold man was defeated in a single exchange. You combat soldier, don't get in the way. Accompanied by a sinister laugh, the Spider Empress released countless silk threads that wrapped around the gold man, who was flying backwards. The silk threads wrapped around the gold man, turning him into a white cocoon. The gold man struggled and roared, but he was unable to break free in an instant. Inside the ethereal extent, Dongbua Shuiying flew at a high speed, trying his best to buy time. He couldn't care less about the gold man now. Most importantly, in the mirage, other life forms couldn't really fight. In fact, other life forms wouldn't even be able to enter without him carrying it. The gold man could not fight on his own in the mirage. In the mirage, he was not even as useful as a shield. Even the green armored guards had to transform into armor and wear it on Dongbua Shuiying's body to follow Dongbua Shuiying in the ethereal extent. Ha ha ha! Dongbua Shuiying, stop struggling. Elder Ao Lan's laughter echoed within the 200-li radius. The distance between the sorcerer god and Dongbui Shui shortened rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he was already 100 meters behind him. The speed of the weapon was much faster than Dongbui Shui Ying's flying speed. Change! Dongbui Shui Ying's figure turned illusory. Shwa shwa shwa. One Dongbui Shui Ying suddenly turned into 10 Dongbui Shui Yings. The 10 Dongbui Shui Yings were all wearing green-gray armor and were doing their best to escape. Interesting. There's actually another life aura, a slightly weaker one. Elder Ao Lan used the Sorcerer God Saber to sense the mirage. Other than the original Dongbui Shui Ying's aura, he could also sense another slightly weaker aura. As for the illusory figures, they couldn't fool the Sorcerer God's Saber at all. After grasping the true meaning of mirage, one could hide in the mirage and use the mirage doppelganger to kill the enemy without having to personally attack. Among these illusory figures, there was a mirage doppelganger. The 10 Dongbui Shui Yings were all fleeing, but the Sorcerer God Saber didn't hesitate to chase after the real one. It's actually unable to fool the Sorcerer God's Saber. Dongbui Shui Ying's expression changed slightly. Immediately, the mirage doppelganger in the illusory figures took the initiative to attack. Kill! The mirage doppelganger wielded the transformed stellar fire cloud spear and blocked the Sorcerer God Saber. Sila! Wherever the Sorcerer God's Saber passed, the mirage doppelganger, including the transformed stellar fire cloud spear, were completely shattered. Even though I'm only at the first stage of the true meaning of mirage, this mirage doppelganger still has the strength of a demigod. Yet, it can't even affect its speed. Dongbui Shui Ying didn't have time to escape. Thus, he dispersed the illusory figures and turned around with the stellar fire cloud spear to block the Sorcerer God Saber. Break! The spear spun. Rumble, just like the rotation of the earth and stars, it blocked the Sorcerer God's Saber. As the spear spun, it carried a strange rhythm, trying its best to guide the Sorcerer God's Saber. Pong! The Sorcerer God's Saber and the spear clashed. Even though the spear was imbued with the true meaning of star and possessed great power, even the Gold Man, who had the combat power of the top 3 demigods, was sent flying in a single exchange, let alone the stellar fire cloud spear. Even though it wasn't a head-on clash, it was like a giant dragon running past, producing a violent gale that could send a small white rabbit flying. A spear art that didn't even have the power of a top 10 demigod couldn't affect the Sorcerer God Saber at all. The Sorcerer God's Saber continued to pierce forward. The stellar fire cloud spear was knocked to the side. Pooh! The Sorcerer God Saber stabbed into Dongbui Shui Ying's chest. Chi. The green armor on the surface of his body was incomparably tough, but the Sorcerer God Saber still managed to pierce through it, and its power was immediately reduced by 50%. Even a peak stage demigod could forget about breaking through this greenish-gray armor. However, the Sorcerer God Saber was too powerful. After piercing through this layer of armor, its power was reduced by 50%, and it stabbed into another layer of energy. That was a tough layer of energy filled with life. Purple lightning protection. Dongbui Shui Ying anxiously sensed it. In this desperate situation, he had already activated his protective ring. This ring was one of the 2 life-saving treasures that Palace Lord Shun had given him. One was the green armored protector, and the other was the ring that the Purple Thunder Emperor had refined after he became a deity. Once activated, it would form a purple lightning protection. It was comparable to a full-force attack from the Purple Thunder Emperor. This was a full-force attack from a deity, and its power was immense. The Purple Thunder Emperor was an existence that had become a deity with a grade 3 deity heart, and his power was extremely high. Demigods would normally need the time to brew a cup of tea to exhaust this purple lightning protection. However, the attack this time was the Sorcerer God's Saber. Even after its power was reduced by half by the green armor, its power was still comparable to that of a deity. Pooh! The Sorcerer God's Saber stabbed into the purple lightning protection. Dongbui Shui Ying's expression changed. and the purple lightning on the surface of his body surged. In an instant, a small portion of it was lost. I've lost less than 10% of it. However, based on the Sorcerer God Saber's power, 10 or so strikes should be enough to exhaust the purple lightning protection. He actually managed to block it? Elder Aolon, who was controlling the Sorcerer God Saber, could clearly sense a surge of energy blocking the Sorcerer God Saber. Elder Aolon revealed a cold smile. Oomph. The Sorcerer God Saber is a deity weapon that was originally planned to be used. This time, with the support of the precious scroll, its power is incomparably tyrannical. I refuse to believe that the treasures on his body can block it more than a few times. Kill. Boom. 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 Within the mirage, the Sorcerer God's Saber's power surged. Under the pressure of the invisible energy, Dongbua Shui Ying's speed became very slow. He had no way of resisting the Sorcerer God Saber, and could only rely on the green armor protector and the purple lightning protection to resist it. Chi! Every strike pierced through the green armor and the purple lightning protection, continuously consuming the energy left behind by the purple Thunder Emperor. This Elder Aolon is using the Sorcerer God Saber, and I can't even resist it. Dongbua Shuang looked outside the mirage at the gold man, who had been wrapped into a white cocoon. The gold man was currently struggling, but wasn't he the same? No matter how much he struggled, the Sorcerer God's Saber pierced his body time and time again. The gold man's body was indestructible. At the very least, he wouldn't die. But how long could he last? Seriously, he couldn't think of a way. His direct combat ability wasn't even in the top 10 of the demigod rankings. Now that he couldn't even escape into the mirage, what else could he do? Outside Razorwind City, the towering Ding Zhou's warship floated in midair. A group of demigods from the Xia people were working together to break the formation. Rumble, Jingxiu, Puyang Bo, Yufeng, Yuan Qing, and the others could only watch from afar. They watched nervously and expectantly. Hurry! Palace Lord Chen bellowed. Palace Lord Chen. Suddenly, a message was transmitted to Palace Lord Chen's communication wristband. I can't hold on much longer. This time, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape this calamity. I left a message in the communication wristband of my Qi clone. If I really die, help me pass it on to my family and Jingxiu. It was a simple message. It contained despair and reluctance. Dongbua Shuang, I will definitely save you, definitely. Palace Lord Chen seemed to have gone berserk. Chapter 263. Within the Ding Zhou warship, Palace Lord Chen looked at Mountain Lord, he who was beside him. Mountain Lord, he was using all his strength to control the entire Ding Zhou warship. Mountain Lord he. Palace Lord Chen looked at Mountain Lord he. Snow Eagle can't hold on much longer. Mountain Lord he's expression changed. It was too fast. So fast that they were caught unprepared. Elder Aolon had just used the Sorcerer God Saber, and Dongbua Shuang was already at his limit. But these arrays are very hard to break. Our Xia people's demigods are already doing their best. Mountain Lord, he said anxiously, but Snow Eagle, we can't just watch him die. We can't. We have to save him at all costs. Palace Lord Chen nodded. I've already sent over the clan protection treasure from the Infernal Palace. At the same time, I've also sent a message to that outsider. Outsider? Mountain Lord, he was startled. Him. Agree to his conditions. His realm is higher than ours, and his horizons are wider than ours. I hope that he can help us break these arrays as soon as possible. Palace Lord Chen said, no matter what, we have to protect Dongbua Shuang. Yes. Mountain Lord, he nodded. As for Dongbua Shuang, this young transcendent, Palace Lord Chen and Mountain Lord, he both had complicated feelings. He had risen in a shocking manner. His talent was unquestionably the #1 in the history of the Xia people. Other than his shocking talent, he had also done his best for the Xia people, contributing an unprecedented amount of merit. Just by destroying the demonic faction headquarters, destroying the physical body of the great demon god's clone, this merit was enough to overshadow all the deities in the history of the Xia people. He had done so much for the Xia people, but the Xia people were unable to do anything for this young transcendent. Whether it was for Dongbua Shui Ying's enormous potential, or because they felt indebted to him, they all wanted to save Dongbua Shuang. On an island in the middle of the ocean, within the flourishing city, countless mortals were living their own lives. Some were drunk and dreaming, while others were working hard for their families. They had no idea that the transcendents of the Xia people were fighting. The white-haired old man sat next to a roadside stall, eating a steaming hot steamed bun that had just come out of the steamer. He looked at the bustling street next to him as people came and went. Beside him, the young attendant was also sitting at the side. He was also looking at his master with a strange expression. Was this ordinary man to really that delicious? Even his master, who had earth-shattering strength, liked to eat it so much? The white-haired old man's gaze was calm, but there was a hint of loneliness in it. My master. Suddenly, a message was transmitted over. I am the infernal palace head of the Xia people. Palace Lord Chun. The lonely old man was a little surprised. Transcendent Dongbua Shui Ying of the Xia people is currently under siege by the Beast Clan and is in grave danger. There are layers upon layers of arrays around the area that the Xia people cannot break in a short period of time. We need your help, according to our previous agreement. If you help, the Xia people will give you all the information on Crimson Rock Mountain. Palace Lord Chun transmitted. The lonely old man was a guest from another world. When he first ascended, he had already come into contact with the Xia people and met with Palace Lord Chun. He hoped to obtain information from the Xia people regarding Crimson Rock Mountain. One must know, every generation of demigods of the Xia people was strong enough. Before they reached the end of their lifespan, the infernal palace head would inform them of the existence of Crimson Rock Mountain. They would go to Crimson Rock Mountain and fight for their lives. Before entering Crimson Rock Mountain, the demigods of the Xia people would leave their chi doppelgangers, magic doppelgangers, outside before entering Crimson Rock Mountain with their true bodies. After entering Crimson Rock Mountain, it was filled with dangers of death. Those who were weak would probably die the moment they entered. Every generation, 2 or 3 would enter. Normally, they would be at the level of Mountain Lord He, Si Kong Yang, or Chao Qing. Chao Qing had also condensed a true deity heart, which was why his strength had reached the threshold that the Xia people recognized. Over 1,000,000 years, every 3,000 years was a generation. Every generation, there would be people who entered. While they were adventuring, their chi doppelgangers, magic doppelgangers, in the outside world would simultaneously record a large amount of information. Thus, the Xia people had also recorded a large amount of information regarding Crimson Rock Mountain. This was something that the lonely old man, the Maishan master, really wanted to obtain. However, the Xia people viewed it as a treasure. How could they easily give it to a guest from another world? The Maishan master was very strong. However, if the Xia people were truly angered, they could mobilize the strength of their entire race and their clan's protection treasure. The Maisha master would have a headache. Thus, both sides had always lived in harmony. Information on Crimson Rock Mountain. The lonely old man's eyes lit up. This Dongbua Shuang, where is he? This is the address. Palace Lord Chun immediately sent over a map. Come quickly. Dongbua Shuang can't hold on much longer. Wait for me here. The lonely old man stood up. Who? His figure distorted. Space was like water as he directly drilled into the water and disappeared. A few seconds later, outside Razor Wind City, the enormous Ding Jiu battleship floated in the air. The demigods of the Xia people were all in the air, working together to break the array. In the depths of the array, Elder A.O. Land's magic doppelganger stood there coldly. Who? The space rippled like water, and the lonely old man appeared out of nowhere. So fast, within the Ding Jiu battleship, Palace Lord Chun and Mountain Lord He were both speechless. They had just invited this guest from another world over, and he had already arrived? According to what they knew, this guest from another world usually lived in a county city on an island in the ocean. Such a long distance, and such speed was even faster than tearing through space. Mission Master. Palace Lord Chun immediately left the Ding Geo battleship and came to the side of the lonely old man. At this time, the other demigods of the Xia people also noticed this unfamiliar demigod, but since Palace Lord Chun had appeared, they did not question him. What a powerful array! The desolate old man was looking at the layers of spirit designs. Wherever his gaze passed, ripples would appear in the space as he carefully observed each and every spirit design. Thunder and fire were vast and mighty. High up in the sky, black clouds were constantly accumulating lightning. How is it? Palace Lord Chun asked anxiously. Sealing and isolating the world? The lonely old man looked from afar and transmitted. In order to kill Dongbua Shuiying, you actually used such a precious treasure to seal and isolate the world? This is the method of a god. Your Xia people, this Dongbua Shuiying is truly amazing. Of the four inside, Elder Ao Lan and Monarch Qingyan are ranked 3rd and 4th on the demigod list, right? The one beside them is the Spider Queen from your records, and there's also a deity warrior. So many experts, so many treasures, arrays, all to deal with a young transcendent. At this time, he had also guessed that this Dongbua Shuiying was most likely the expert he had discovered walking in the mirage. I'm asking if you can break the array? Palace Lord Chun transmitted anxiously. I'm thinking, don't be anxious. The lonely old man thought for a full 10 seconds before transmitting. I can only do my best to help you. I estimate that with the strength of your Xia people and me, it will take the time to brew a cup of tea. The time to brew a cup of tea? Palace Lord Chen's expression changed. This guest from another world was indeed helpful. But it would take too long. Once Elder Ao Lan made his move, Dongbua Shuiying would not be able to hold on for much longer. The time to brew a cup of tea? Do you need me to help? The lonely old man asked. If you need me to help, give me the information now. If you don't want me to help, I'll leave now. He was used to seeing life and death. Countless people had died, including his close friends and loved ones. To this Dongbua Shuiying, who he had never met before, he did not care if he lived or died. Yes, Palace Lord Chun gritted his teeth and transmitted, you must do your best. If you don't do your best, the Xia people will not let you off. The lonely old man smiled. Now that I've received the information, I will naturally do my best. Although he could not do anything to the Xia people, he was still confident that he could protect himself. However, the threat from Palace Lord Chun made him feel that the Xia people valued this Dongbua Shuiying. Within the sealed and isolated world of 200 kilometers, within a mirage, no matter how hard Dongbua Shuiying tried to escape, he could not escape from the Sorcerer God's sword. He could only endure it passively and resist it head-on. He was still struggling with all his might, like a pitiful bug struggling in a spider's web. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.